quadriplegic,
a paraplegic, in a wheelchair.
When they volunteer to serve, we expect our country to be there for them if they are injured.
For more than 60 years, Paralyzed Veterans of America has been fighting to ensure that we receive all of the benefits that we've earned.
Benefits to help with medical care, rehabilitation, and training. And our dedicated professionals know how to navigate the system, so our injured veterans can concentrate on getting well.
Thank you, Paralyzed Veterans, for helping our daughter.
My husband.
My son.
Thank you, Paralyzed Veterans of America, for helping my brother.
To learn how you can help our injured veterans, visit Paralyzed Veterans of America at pva.org. A public service of Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Janine Marks, a 12-year-old, was fairly normal. She spent a lot of time online. One day, she met a new friend. The new friend had the same problems at home. They liked the same bands. They worried about the same subjects in school. They promised to keep each other's secrets. They wished they went to the same junior high. The new friend had good news. He said he was going to be in Janine's area one Saturday. He thought it would be amazing if they could just hang out, go to the mall. Janine agreed. The new friend didn't want parents messing this up. Janine showed up alone. So did her new friend, who wasn't in junior high, wasn't nice, and wasn't a 14-year-old boy. Every day, children are sexually solicited online. Help delete online predators. Call 1-800-THE-LOST or visit cybertipline.com to learn how to protect your kids' online life. A message from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the Ad Council.
Foreclosure takes an emotional toll on families. If you're in danger of losing your home because of mortgage trouble, a mortgage servicing settlement now provides more options than ever before for many Iowans facing foreclosure.
I'm Iowa Attorney General Tom Miller. If you're behind on your mortgage, talk to your mortgage servicer or call the Iowa Mortgage Help Hotline at 877-622-4866. It's free, it's confidential, and it just might save your home.
Sponsored by Iowa Mortgage Help and aired by the Iowa Broadcasters Association and this station.
Make good nutrition and physical activity part of your family's daily lifestyle. Be our guest to healthy living and visit letsmove.gov to learn more. Brought to you by Let's Move, the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Ad Council.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
This is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, we're getting out of Rush a little early today for a very, very good reason. It's time for the Trinity Hospice Ball, and we want to tell you about that and let you know how you can assist hospice. And I can tell you from personal experience, and I think a lot of people can now, that hospice is a very, very important thing in our community and to individual families. Joining me now, and I'm pleased to welcome to the program, Carol Grannon. How are you, Carol?
I'm doing fine. Thanks, Mike.
And a very lifelike Craig Murphy. How you doing over there, Craig?
Well, I'm doing great, Mike.
Okay.
I appreciate the time.
Okay, well, I appreciate seeing you. I haven't seen you in quite a while, and I'm glad that you're around and looking well, and you're a co-chair of the hospice ball this year.
I am. I'm sharing that chairmanship with Mike Johnson and Amy,
Mhm.
and then my wife Peggy and myself will be the co-chairs for the 2019 hospice ball.
And Carol, when is the 2019 hospice ball?
It is Saturday, February 2nd.
Mhm.
We are always the first Saturday in February, so you can mark your calendars annually. We start at 6 o'clock with a social hour, and then follow up with dinner at 7 and a program, dancing at 8:30. We have a fabulous silent auction that goes throughout the night with a raffle.
And where is this at?
It's at the Starlight Village.
We're lucky to have the Starlight, aren't we?
We are very lucky.
Where would
and
we have these things? Where
I
would the
know
Starlight?
it's the largest venue here in town, and they're very accommodating to us, and we're grateful for that.
How long have we had hospice services in town?
That is a good question. We've had the hospice ball for 27 years,
Mhm.
and we've had hospice longer than that.
1983.
1983. Thank
Off
you,
the
Craig.
top of my head is when it's actually started.
Okay.
It started very small.
Yeah, well, it was a new thing back then.
Became more formalized, I believe, around 1995.
That's what I was going to say, that we became Medicare certified.
Yes.
Prior to that time, it was more of a volunteer-driven organization.
It was, yeah.
Mhm.
Craig, you may know this, or you both may know this. My wife passed away of cancer in
Yes.
1998, and we took advantage of hospice services, and they were a lifesaver, frankly. And you're right; they were very much volunteer-driven, even at that time.
Mhm.
Sister Jane was still around, and
Yes.
she was an outstanding person. Really, she had classes at the time on death and dying that changed the way I think about death and dying.
Yes.
Positively, by the way, very positively. That death is really the natural end of life, and it's
Mhm.
not something we should fear necessarily. If we fear it, it's usually because we're having a sense of loss that someone is leaving us, and that's all. And there are stages of grief and recovery, and that was I really can't say enough about hospice. They have been just tremendous. Now, Trinity Hospice is not the only hospice in our town, is it?
Right. There are other, there is a for-profit, we're nonprofit,
Right.
but there's also a for-profit organization in town.
I just wanted to clear that up so
Yes.
that there was no confusion.
People
People may not like to think of hospice sometimes,
Right,
but
right.
It's important that we do.
It's one of those things that you really don't want to think about, but when you do need it, they're there for you, and you'll always be grateful that you had hospice a part of your end of life care.
Craig Murphy is our guest as well. How did you get drawn to this, or drawn into it, Craig, whichever it is?
Well, that's a good question. I actually was drawn into this by two situations. The first one was Sister Jane Rogers.
Great woman. Great.
Believe it or not, she was a very wonderful person in my life, as others.
Oh, she wasn't mine.
And she and I were very good friends, and she told me over and over that you would make a good volunteer, Craig. And so in 2008, when the hospice house, Paula J. Baber Hospice House, opened up, it was an avenue for me to step in and to volunteer at the house and to
Mhm.
volunteer within the community. And on the same period of time, the bank that I worked at previously before I retired, First Federal, had a program, and it was about community involvement and how can our employees become involved within the community. Well, they can do that by volunteering.
Sure.
And so with those two things hand in hand, it allowed me to be a volunteer. And with Unity Point Hospice, and whether it be at home, whether it be at the nursing home, assisted living, or at the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home, that in fact is where our volunteers are at most often.
Are you fully retired now?
I am semi-retired.
I was going to say, young fellow like
I
you,
am
Craig.
so young. And, it's funny you say that, because I just actually got off the phone
I'm a
with
little
my
older than you,
Medicare
so I get-
provider.
Oh, you did?
So
Well, it's getting Medicare age isn't such a bad thing. It's just you can't run as well as you used to.
Well, and
or at all, as I've noticed.
And in all actuality, Medicare, as it is very important to the hospice.
I didn't know that.
Sure.
Maybe you could explain that, both of you or whoever.
Well,
can.
In my own experience,
that's a great point. Does Medicare help with hospice?
Medicare does. And Medicare
Outstanding.
does, in fact, if end-of-life situations, such as the hospice program is involved with, Medicare will, in fact, pay for those services.
Mm-hmm.
And to give you an example, my father-in-law passed away this past May, and we brought hospice in. We had 4 months of wonderful hospice care.
Yeah.
And Medicare stepped in, and they were a major part of those items that need to be taken care of. And so that worked hand in hand.
Your
And
father-in-law was a wonderful man.
He
Well,
was.
well respected around our town.
He
Well
was.
liked.
He was.
Great guy. How old was he? He was in his 90s, wasn't he?
Tom Kelly was 94.
Good long life.
He had
TX
a great,
Kelly.
and he was grateful for every year, and he was grateful to live to the last day that he did.
Well, I believe that. I believe that about him. He was. I knew him. Well as I knew Lee Johnson. Just casually, met him years ago. Lee Johnson, Mike's dad, who passed away recently. He was a good guy too. Solid stand-up guy all the way, and really good guy.
Those guys are hard to replace.
They are very well. You can't really replace it. I don't think
You really
so.
can't. They really can't.
One of a kind units, boy. I'll tell you. We're talking Trinity Hospice Ball with Carol Grannon and Craig Murphy. There's a cost, Carol.
There is a cost.
Ah.
So the cost is $50 per person.
Mm-hmm.
Or if you're so inclined and you have a group of people that you want to attend with, you can reserve a table of 8
Mm-hmm.
for $650 or a table of 4 for $350. And then if you would like to do a corporate sponsorship, you can reserve a table of 8 for $1,200. And the corporate sponsorship is really open to anyone. You don't have to be a business to do that. Anyone can do that. It's an opportunity to lend a greater level of support to the ball. But for that corporate sponsorship, we also give you presence on our mobile bid site,
Mhm.
which we'll talk about in a minute.
Mhm.
And we give you a little additional recognition at the ball for that greater level of support. So we can talk about the mobile bid site. We have a silent auction at the
Mhm.
ball. We have about 100 items
Ah.
on our silent auction, and they're great items. About 4 years ago, we went to a mobile bidding platform. So all of our items are uploaded onto a website, and once you get to the ball, or even at home, you can log on from the comfort of your own home if you don't attend the ball, and you can shop our website just like you shop on Amazon or your favorite website, and you can bid on your items using your phone, using your smartphone. So it's a great opportunity to participate. It makes it fun. It makes it competitive. And all you have to do is log on to unitypointhealth.org and go to the foundation website, and the instructions are there to get logged on to the GiveSmart site. You put in your credit card, and then you are able to bid. And if you're not attending at the end of the night, if you are the winner of the bid, then we just push the cost of that item to your credit card, and we notify you on Monday that you have won. You will get a text that you won the item, and we'll work with you on Monday to get that item either picked up or delivered.
I love it that if folks don't have a smartphone or one of those types of phones, you have a personal shopper there to help.
We do. We do. We have a little staff of personal shoppers with iPads. So if someone doesn't have a smartphone or they're not comfortable, even though it's a secure site, if they're not comfortable putting in their credit card number, then we have personal shoppers that will help them do their bidding.
Mhm.
Once you bid, if you get outbid, you get a text telling you that you've been outbid. And at the end of the night, if you don't want the cost pushed to your credit card, you have the option of paying by check too.
Okay.
So we try to keep people happy,
That is.
but it's a really good it's proved to be a really good service.
Do you have a social media post, Facebook post, something
We
like
do.
that, where we
We
can
do.
look at
We-
all the
We're on Facebook as far as the ball is concerned, and then there'll be a link from there to help you get logged on to the bidding website. It isn't live yet, but we hope we try to have that live the week before the ball. So once we get that live, we'll be posting that our bid site is live and folks can log on and start bidding.
It's on Facebook somewhere, you say?
We will have
Oh,
that
you
on
will
there.
have it.
It's the information about the ball and an invitation to the ball is on Facebook. Everyone is welcome to attend. And the reserve tables are filling up fast. But the information regarding the live mobile bid site, we'll post that once the site is live. We are still taking auction items. And so we don't have the site live yet.
Do you have an auctioneer? Is Dinklaw going to be out there? or
No,
anything like that?
it's a silent,
completely silent auction.
completely silent, no live. So it all takes place on your smartphone.
Okay. And how many years have we been doing the hospice ball? It's been
27.
27. You did say that earlier.
27.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's awesome. And every year we pack the house.
Okay.
And we're very appreciative to those donors of the items and these
Yes.
businesses in town and the individuals that have been involved in helping us every year at the hospice ball. And it's been a real treat to go out there and to talk to these people because they are pro hospice ball. They believe in the process, they believe in the organization, and they believe in what we do, and that sells it. And
Well, and it's I really think it's a very important part of our community now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, any community that doesn't have a hospice or access to a hospice they're hurting a lot more than we are.
Well, and one additional thing is that we have the house, the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home.
And that's on South 32nd? No.
I'm
Where
trying to
is it?
think. It's South 8th Street, right
South
down on
8th
South
Street.
8th Street, right,
Right.
right down there by the Unity Point.
Highland Park
Highland
Rehab.
Park
Oh, over
Rehab.
there. Okay.
Yeah,
just to
That's
the
South, not 8th Street. That's
kind of south.
Highland Park Avenue.
right. It's located right on the Highland Park Rehab campus.
Yeah, I know.
Um,
The old Highland Park School.
Right. It's located right near that. And like Craig said, we're so grateful for the people who support us and the people who have a passion for this. We always say we all come to the ball with a little bit different purpose, but we all share the same passion for hospice. And we have new supporters every year, but we also have the same core group of supporters that support us every year, and we're really grateful for that. We're also grateful to the businesses who support us and support us with auction items. But we also just almost daily, someone walks into the Trinity Foundation office with a silent auction item that they just donate to us unsolicited. They just want to be a part of it and help us out. And we're really grateful for that too.
What sort of staff do you have at hospice? Do you have a lot of people working on hospice or?
The hospice, we have the hospice staff, which is they're caring for people.
Right.
And they're
paid staff rather than
they're
volunteers.
paid.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. They're paid staff taking care of patients. As far as the work of the ball, a lot of that work is done by volunteers. Some of it is done by the Trinity Foundation staff. The co-chairs help us. And then some of the hospice staff actually volunteer their time and help us as well.
Craig Murphy, what are you and Mike and Amy Johnson and your wife Peggy doing as co-chairs? I mean, are you doing publicity or do you have other duties as co-chairs?
We have a variety of duties
All right.
as co-chairs, and we're willing to do any of those duties at any given time, even at short notice. And so with that being said, whether we appear on the Mike Devine show, we spoke to the Saratoga Club the other day.
That's a grim group.
Oh, but they were very gentle. And so we were appreciative of being able to speak to them. The co-chairs will be at the ball. We're out soliciting to the businesses that are generously giving to the hospice ball those auction items. Anything we might do, we have a special group of corporate sponsors, and those corporate sponsors are ones of which we are very proud of also, and they help us quite a bit with the operation of this ball and generating the necessary things that we're trying to do, which is make it a ball that everyone can be a part of. Everyone has the same caring spirit within that ball process, and it's just wonderful.
Well, that's great to hear. That is great to hear. I guess as far as the attitude toward death is concerned, and I mentioned Sister Jane, and we noted her a couple of times, is that she did help. There was a fear of death, I think, that a lot of people in the class I took had. There was a certain finality to it or something. But Sister Jane kind of put it in our heads, or mine at least, that it's better to think about the great life that the deceased had than the fact that they're gone now, which we will all be sooner or later. And boy, I've that really changed the way I think about death now. And I've, of course, last 20 years had to attend several funerals, and I always thought that sitting there in the church or wherever I was, is that, and I would think about the good times I had with the person and the good things about that person, and it's much better than, oh gosh, they're gone.
Yeah.
Whether you believe in an afterlife, which I do, or not, and I know that a lot of people come down on either side of that, it doesn't make any difference. But if you believe in the afterlife, so much the better. But even if you don't, that's a much better way to look at that. Death is the natural end of life, I think, is the way Sister Jane put it. Death is a natural thing, not an unnatural thing.
Right.
It's a natural. We don't like it, but it's a natural thing.
And I think the beauty of our hospice program is that those nurses really help people who are at the end of life focus on what do they want to accomplish in the time they have left. And they really help them focus on positive relationships and accomplishing those things, whether it's, making it to attend the wedding of a grandchild, or, seeing the birth of a baby, whatever it is. We have baptisms at the house. We celebrate birthdays, help people celebrate, another birthday. We have weddings. We do whatever we can to help these people celebrate life's special moments, no matter how short their time is. And our hospice nurses, they are so involved with their patients. They, a lot of times hospice patients have a pet that they're concerned about what's going to happen to their pet.
Yes.
And we've seen hospice nurses that have gone above and beyond, and they make arrangements for that pet to go to a new home once the person has died. Our hospice nurses really step, outside the lines to help these people with not just nursing care, but help them with whatever it is they need to do to make peace and to know that their loose ends are wrapped up. And so I think it's important to say that not only do we have a hospice program, we have one of the best hospice programs in the state.
Oh, I would think you do. I would vote that way. Yes, absolutely. You mentioned a goal of someone who was terminally ill to attend a graduation or a wedding or something. I have seen this a couple of times in my life where a terminally ill person will be told they have 3 months to live, but a granddaughter's wedding is in 7 or 8 months, and they will be determined to stay alive that long. And they are in relatively good health those 7 or 8 months, and they go to the wedding, and within a week or a month they're dead, which is remarkable. Remarkable testament to the human spirit to actually fight off death until this goal of theirs, this important day in their life of their family, has been achieved. And once that happens, they seem to just go. With gratitude and a certain amount of peace.
Well, it's not about how you die; it's how you live.
You're absolutely right, boy. I'll tell you, this is the day we should be. This is the day we should be paying attention and doing something rather than fretting around about the day that we're not going.
I agree.
And our hospice nurses are pros at that. And Craig made a really good point at the beginning of the show about the fact that his father-in-law was in hospice for 4 months. And I think, some of us put off going to hospice and accepting hospice. But certainly once you receive that diagnosis, the sooner that you accept hospice and you start that hospice program, the better off and the better your end of life will be. So we really do encourage people to accept hospice into their lives sooner rather than later.
All right, Carol Grant and Craig Murphy have been our guests. The Trinity Hospice Ball is Saturday, February the 2nd. And if somebody wanted to know more, is there a number to call, a website, or what do we do?
There is a number to call. We encourage you to call 515-574-6513.
Well, that's pretty cool. Thank you very much, both of you. This
Thank
is
you.
AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Now, I went through the 7th grade. I went to the 7th grade. And I left home when I was 10 years old because I was hungry. And I used to, this is true. I work in the summer and I go to school in the winter. But I had this one teacher. He was the principal of the Harrison School in Vincennes, Indiana. To me, this was the greatest teacher, a real sage of my time, anyhow. He had such wisdom. And we were all reciting the Pledge of Allegiance one day. And he walked over, this little old teacher. Mr. Laswell was his name. Mr. Laswell. And he says, he says, I've been listening to you boys and girls recite the Pledge of Allegiance all semester, and it seems as though it's becoming monotonous to you. If I may I recite it and try to explain to you the meaning of each word? I, me, an individual, a committee of one, pledge. Dedicate all of my worldly goods to give without self-pity. Allegiance, my love and my devotion to the flag, our standard, Old Glory, a symbol of freedom. Wherever she waves, there's respect, because your loyalty has given her a dignity that shouts freedom is everybody's job. United. That means that we have all come together. States, individual communities that have united into 48 great states. 48 individual communities with pride and dignity and purpose. All divided with imaginary boundaries, yet united to a common purpose. And that's love for country. And to the republic, a state in which sovereign power is invested in representatives chosen by the people to govern. And government is the people. And it's from the people to the leaders, not from the leaders to the people, for which it stands. One nation, meaning so blessed by God, indivisible, incapable of being divided, with liberty, which is freedom, the right of power to live one's own life without threats, fear, or some sort of retaliation. And justice, the principle or qualities of dealing fairly with others. For all, which means, boys and girls, it's as much your country as... And now, boys and girls, let me hear you recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Since I was a small boy, 2 states have been added to our country, and 2 words have been added to the Pledge of Allegiance: under God.
Straight talk
Wouldn't it
on
be
life
a
and money.
pity?
This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Canceling a congressional flight. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Trump turning up the heat on Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Pelosi says she's not trying to deny the president a forum by requesting he delay his State of the Union address until the partial government shutdown is over.
I'm not denying a platform at all. We're saying let's get a date when government is open. Let's pay the employees. Maybe he thinks it's okay not to pay people who do work. I don't. And my caucus doesn't either.
The president a short time ago canceling the speaker's congressional delegation trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan until the shutdown is over. Fox's John Roberts at the White House.
According to the White House, according to Sarah Sanders, the president postponed Pelosi's ability to use military air. As he made clear in the letter, she can still go if she so chooses, but must do so commercially.
That flight was set to depart a few minutes ago, and several members of Congress are still waiting on an Air Force bus. Pelosi says Democrats are open to talks on improved border security, but not a wall. A Russian defense official says U.S. plans for a space-based missile defense system will increase global tensions. Fox's John Decker's live at the White House.
The president, in a speech at the Pentagon, said new anti-missile technologies are urgently needed to respond to threats posed by China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran.
They're increasing their lethal strike capabilities, and they're focused on developing long-range missiles that could reach targets within the United States.
In response, the president pledged to build a defense system that can destroy missiles launched against the U.S. anywhere, anytime, any place, as he rolled out the first official update to U.S. missile defense doctrine in nearly a decade.
John, stocks are struggling to remain in positive territory this afternoon after disappointing earnings reports from some key banks. This is Fox News.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get a free bottle of Limitless, call 800-605-1708. 800-605-1708. Free bottles for a limited time. Call now. 800-605-1708. 800-605-1708.
Alabama man is accused of torturing young children.
Children younger than 6 say a man they lived with in Alabama repeatedly stuffed them into the washer and dryer, turning on the machines and taunting them by telling how hot the water would get. Now 25-year-old Stephen Garrett Todhunter from the town of Alabaster, south of Birmingham, is under arrest.
It's painful. Sometimes we see things in this line of work that nobody should have to see. And when someone hurts a child, it hurts me as a father, and it hurts me as an investigator to have to deal with these cases.
Police Detective Paul Johnson, it's not known if Todhunter is the children's father. Eben Brown, Fox News.
Michigan State University trustees today expediting the resignation of the school's interim president. John Engler submitted his resignation yesterday, saying he'd leave next week after making controversial comments about some of the victims of former sports doctor and convicted sexual abuser Larry Nassar. The Board of Trustees today making that resignation immediate. A Nebraska school principal who banned Christmas decorations has lost her job.
Jennifer Sinclair was placed on leave after writing a memo to teachers at Manchester Elementary in Omaha about prohibited Christmas symbols, including Santa, Christmas trees, and candy canes, because they're shaped in a J for Jesus. Sinclair's punishment amid the uproar after Elkhorn Schools said that her memo, which she signed Unintentional Grinch, didn't comply with its policy. The school board says it's accepted Sinclair's resignation and that she'll finish the remainder of the school year in a curriculum position. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Gymboree has filed for bankruptcy protection for a second time in as many years, but this time the children's clothing retailer will begin winding down operations for good. The San Francisco company says it will close all of its Gymboree and Crazy 8 stores and attempt to sell its Janie and Jack business and online business. I'm Rich Dennison, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagala with the KVFD Afternoon News. The Sac County Sheriff's Office and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation continue to investigate a shooting that occurred around 12:30 a.m. yesterday. The incident occurred at 3104 330th Street in Lakeview, Iowa. The victim of the shooting has been identified as 55-year-old Richard Vosberg. Vosberg lives at this residence. Vosberg was transferred to Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City with non-life-threatening injuries. Vosberg was shot by an unknown male that came to his residence. After examining the crime scene and conducting interviews, law enforcement believed that Vosberg was targeted by the assailant and that there is not a general threat to the public. Law enforcement does, however, encourage the public to report all suspicious activity, no matter how insignificant callers may think it is. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the Sac County Sheriff's Office at 712-662-712. This week at the Fort Dodge City Council meeting, City Council rejected a development plan from KDG LLC in Columbia, Missouri that would have developed a high-end apartment complex near Rosedale Rapids on the east side of Fort Dodge. Despite the result on Monday, Councilmember Terry Menke said on the Divine Intervention show yesterday that providing adequate housing in Fort Dodge remains a top priority.
So we have been very aggressive with our housing. It's been a top priority of ours for as long as I can remember on our capital improvement plans. Housing's always been towards the top. The concerns the other night and my concerns with what was happening. I think the project that was presented to us, I'm not sure was in the right location.
Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said on the Divine Intervention show that the city has other options.
We have other apartment developers that we've been talking to, so we'll continue to work it. I mean, we're not going to propose this site, obviously. And it's not up to us, really. It's up to the applicant and the property owner to come to some deal and then make a proposal on a site.
A Cedar Rapids area man is now jailed on $3 million bond in the killing of a woman whose body was found along a Muscatine road last week. Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
35-year-old Douglas Foster of Marion is charged with first-degree murder in the death of 20-year-old Leah Ponce of Fairfield. Investigators say Ponce was last seen January 8th getting into Foster's pickup at a Walmart. Her body was located a short time later along Highway 38. An autopsy found Ponce died of blunt force trauma from being hit and dragged by a vehicle. The criminal complaint says Ponce stole a large amount of methamphetamine from a motel room, and the drug dealer offered a bounty to anyone who could find her. Prosecutors say Foster made 2 calls to that dealer just before authorities found the body. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
This has been Alex Benzagala with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A winter storm warning will go into effect here Friday afternoon. We'll see mostly cloudy skies this afternoon with temperatures holding rather steady. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy and low near 16. Friday, a chance for snow showers here, 2 to 4 inches possible, a high around 21. And Friday night, chance for snow 2 to 4 inches possible. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 27.
Celebrate the new year with big savings at Humboldt Motor Sales. Drive away in a new Buick and pay no interest for 72 months, or choose huge cash rebates on that new Buick. Take 19% off GMC Sierras at Humboldt Motor Sales. That's a savings of over $10,000. Take over $7,000 off the new GMC Terrain. Save $4,500 on the GMC Acadia and Chevy Equinox. Celebrate the new year with big savings now at Humboldt Motor Sales. See their complete inventory online at HumboldtMotors.com.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
Indeed knows finding the right hire takes time away from your business.
Hiring a qualified data engineer felt like a second job.
More job seekers use Indeed than any other site, so there's no better place to find someone with the skills you're looking for.
I needed someone with a master's in computer science and database experience.
Plus, Indeed screener questions help you find your shortlist fast.
Now I'm back to having just one job.
Get a $50 credit to give your first job posting premium placement at Indeed.com/credit. Terms, conditions, quality standards, and usage limits apply. Additional terms online.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I always wondered why things didn't go my way. Now I know it's because I'm a dumbass. And I have the perfect face for radio. It's all working today. It's all kind of some sort of giant symmetry here. I don't, All right, let's go to the phones. First of all, good afternoon. You're on the air.
Afternoon, Michael. How are you?
Bill, I wanted you at 3:10. I'm sorry, you're off a little bit on your schedule there. Can you call back in an hour?
Yes, I can. What time?
It's 2:10 here right now.
You want me at 3:10?
3:10, yes, sir. Our time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, this is Bill Horn, and we'll be talking with him in an hour about Congressman Steve King. Yeah, please do that, Bill, and I look forward to talking with you.
Very good, Michael.
All right,
Thank
take
you.
care. All right, AM 1400 KBFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. We have had good news here in our town. Of course, Phillips Middle School has been converted to apartments, condominiums. Actually, I have a couple of men here who are going to explain the whole situation to me. First of all, let's welcome Sean Fouch. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, please?
Yep, that's right, Michael.
I'm glad. I was worried. I was going to get the Sean right.
Yeah.
I was going to get the Sean right.
Great.
And Fouch Brothers does these sort of things for... You guys kind of do this as a specialty, don't you? These converting old schools and old buildings and things like that?
Yeah, converting old historic buildings into housing is definitely a specialty we've done. And we've developed a niche of doing it with schools. Since in the Midwest, we found a lot of schools that were built in the 20s and 30s have reached the end of their life, and they're all available now. Nobody knows what to do with them. And we figured out how to make it work so we can convert them into housing.
Well, are these old buildings still solid? I mean, structurally sound? I mean, a lot of them look like they were built to last forever, but...
That's one of the best things about converting these old schools is they're usually built like fortresses. And in fact, the Phillips Middle School is like a castle. The place is just huge, and it's so sturdy that they make great apartments because they're sturdy. They'll be around forever, and they tend to be quiet, because they're built so well and so thick.
Okay, Sean Fouch is our guest. We also have Stephen Houck, kind of in the biblical sense here, I guess. Is that what I was? The Stephen part in the biblical.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
And did I pronounce your last name correctly,
Yes.
sir? And you are with who, sir?
I'm with Wygand Omega Management. We're based.
Boy, that's a mouthful,
Sure
Stephen.
is.
Say that again, please.
Wygand Omega Management.
Wygand Omega Management.
Correct.
And your business is then, sir?
We're property management, so the Fouches have asked us to come on and manage their property. So I'll be the property manager at the Phillips Luxury Apartments.
Are you going to move to Fort Dodge then?
I will actually be living in the Phillips Apartments.
Well, you said off mic now that you're a Cardinal fan, so I think we should probably have a vote on you.
Okay, that's okay. All right, we'll see.
There's plenty of Cardinal fans in town, believe me. There's probably a lot more Cardinal fans than there are Cub fans, but of course, Cubs are anyway. So, Sean, where are we at as far as the construction? It seems like it's been going. I live just kitty corner from there on 4th Avenue North, and of course, I've been watching. You guys have been working a lot of weekends sometimes, and there's always equipment over there, and there's always something going on over there, but it must have been quite a long process to make that conversion. I know that was all classrooms. It was an old school, small areas sometimes for the classrooms. I'm sure there was a lot of work to do. I'm not saying that it took too long. I'm just asking you, are we getting to the end or?
Yeah. Some days I feel like it took too long. So we've been actually in construction now for right at 18 months. And we're just wrapping it up. So we're just at that point where we're taking what is finally starting to look like an apartment and getting it cleaned up and ready to go. But you're right. We started with classrooms, and the building had been vacant for a while, so we had some damage and water damage and and vandalism, all sorts of things. So we gutted it. We put in all new infrastructure, so new electricity, new heat, new water, and then find one of the things we really do that I think we do really well is that we find ways to make interesting spaces to live out of what used to be these classrooms.
Sure.
And so the building's got 72 apartments in it. There are no two apartments that are exactly the same. And I can't remember what we said, but the basic types, we got like 35 types of apartments. So there's a lot of variety ranging.
You're going to get 35 apartments in that
there's
building?
72 apartments.
72?
Yep. 35 different types.
Wow.
Yeah.
35 different types.
Yeah. Ranging from studios up to 3 bedrooms and every combination in between. Some have hardwood floors, some have carpeting, some have vinyl, some have polished concrete. One of the nice things about schools is they have high ceilings and great big windows. Since we find creative ways to fit in that building, every apartment's different. And so people who want to really come see something different, can have a good time looking around the building.
Boy, it'll be kind of a nostalgia thing for some folks who went there as well.
Kind of a walk back in time.
Wait, when is this going to happen, and when people are able to go in there and kind of have a look?
Well, Stephen is taking appointments now for people to walk through, and it's going to get hot and heavy here starting in the next couple of weeks. We're actually at a point where we think people could be moving in by early February. So,
oh, really?
Yeah. So we're within that 30. People need 30 days notice to give their landlord. So we're within that range right now where people who know they want to move in, it's time to be given that notice and making plans, because I think that first week of February or so we'll be able to start moving some people in.
Wow. Well, I'm going to request a walkthrough right now, Stephen,
Sure.
just so I can come over and maybe talk about it on the air. Maybe have you back if you want to come.
Fantastic. Do you want me to give you my information?
Please.
Yeah. So our phone number to set up an appointment is 515-955-2955. Again, that's 515-955-2955.
2955.
Correct. And then our
955-2955. Gotcha.
Yep,
Email
and our email is manager.phillips@rentourspace.com.
Holy crap.
It's a long one, but it gets to the point.
Manager@rentourspace.com.
Manager.phillips@rentourspace.com.
Manager.phillips.
So if you go to that rentourspace.com, you'll find a bunch of our properties and other people's properties that they manage. So you can find an apartment in Des Moines or find an apartment in Kansas City or Fort Dodge and other places through their website.
Manager.phillips@rentOurProperty.
Rentourspace.com.
Rent our space. Okay,
You
well,
need
let's
cards to hand out or something.
Yeah, you do really with it.
In the works.
Yeah, we definitely need cards. There's no doubt about that. I'll just I'm thinking the phone number, folks, 955-2955. There's the phone number again. And are you the only person working there now, or is there a secretary? Or
it's just me for now. I've got today another manager and my boss were here today. Just kind of checking on progress and crossing T's, dotting I's on some stuff. So
sure. So you are working with a company that works with the Fouch
correct
company.
Yep. So we are contracting with the Fouches as the property management.
Has this been a long-term deal between your two companies? Or
I think so.
Yeah, we've done it probably for about 6 or 8 years. I think we used to manage them all ourselves, and we found out we were spreading ourselves too thin, and that part of the business we just weren't doing as well as we should. So we went out and found Weigand, who does nothing but that. Well, almost nothing but that, but they specialize in it. Yeah.
Yep.
So they're there every day. So, people living there have an issue, they can always find Stephen, and it works better for us and works better for the residents that way too.
I'm going to take a wild guess here. Now, you said you were in business with your two brothers. I bet you're the guy who's on the site all the time, right?
I'm one of two of us. Two of us are on site a lot.
And the oldest brother sits in an office somewhere? Or what?
No, the oldest brother is on site all the time.
Oh, really?
Yep. The youngest one is the one that's least likely to be on site. So
he's in an office somewhere.
He's in an office somewhere, and I'm in an office sometimes. But like today, I'm out in the thick of it doing the dirty work.
Sure. Where's your company out of? Where's your home office?
Fouch Brothers has an office in Kansas City, and I work out of an office here in Johnston. So, and I tend to ramrod most, and in fact now all of our Iowa projects, and so the other office tends to do more of the work in Missouri and Kansas.
I grew up in Algona, Iowa, about 41 miles up the road here, and my old high school is now some apartments. Was that a deal that Fouch Brothers did? Or?
Yep, Obie Lang.
Obie Lang
Middle School is one. It's actually the one we finished right before we came here. So yeah, we did that one.
Okay.
And Weigand manages it for us now. I think there are 40 apartments in that building up there.
No kidding.
Yep.
40 just a little old school, the way I remember it.
Yeah.
It was a high. Yeah, that's right. It was a middle school for many, many years after Boy, I'm getting to be an old guy. So are we talking leases here for the What should we call this project now? Just Phillips Middle School
So
Apartments?
it's actually the Phillips Luxury Apartments.
The Phillips Luxury Apartments. So
Correct.
you're keeping the Phillips name.
Correct.
So, okay. So what kind of thing do we have as far as leases or month-to-month rent, or what are we talking
so
about?
we're looking at 12 to 18-month contracts for leases.
Okay.
And so we're in those stages of lease up at the moment. Once things are more of a finished product, I think we'll get a lot more folks in the door and starting to commit and lease to the apartments. I also want to kind of talk about some other amenities that we have to offer as well. So we've got a home theater that's in. Sean actually just bought the furniture for that, and it looks amazing.
It's a home theater?
Home theater, yep. So we'll have a projector and a screen. You can hook up a laptop, a computer, a game console. You can do, I think there are potentially for cable hookups as well to watch.
These are going to be in some of the individual units?
These are its own room.
It has its own room?
Yes,
well, the theater room's a
theater
standalone
room,
room that the residents can use or they can rent out.
Correct.
So, yeah. So it seats probably maybe a dozen, maybe 20 people, something like that. So,
We'll also have a fitness center for folks who live in the building. And then we'll also have, we're calling it a bark park. So it's a fenced. Yep. So it's
Let me guess.
A fenced.
Got to take care of those
park
pets.
Just on the exterior of the property.
That was going to be my next question, really, if you allowed pets in any of these units.
We are pet friendly. So we also are ADA compliant too. So if there are certain folks who have service animals and that kind of thing, we work with those folks.
I forgot about the ADA. God, I'll tell you, if I don't know if I had to do one of these things, Sean, I think I'd drink a lot. All the regulations and rules you have to live with.
Lots of regulations,
sure.
but there's fun stuff. The theater room's fun. There's a community rec room, game room.
Well, I'm sure it is, but for you to have to deal with ADA and
it's
on and on and on.
Well, I mean, we want to be accommodating to everybody that we
sure
can
we
be,
do. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. I mean,
Well,
I don't want to go back to the old days when people were allowed in buildings because they were in wheelchairs or
Sure.
something. I don't
It's crazy.
But it's just, it's just a lot of regulations. And if you violate one, there's somebody from the government going, can I help?
right.
No, you can't. Anyway, Sean Fauch is our guest and Stephen Hauk, and we are talking the Phillips Luxury Apartments. So that sounds like pretty impressive. Now, are these going to be, you said there were 72 altogether. I mean, I suppose there's 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 1-bedrooms.
in studios as well.
Studio. Now, what do you mean by that?
And studio
And
apartments.
studio
Yes.
apartments.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Studios would be for a single person.
Correct.
Sometimes a couple,
Sometimes
but
a
generally
couple,
they're the smallest apartments. Usually best
Studios that I remember, the kitchen was there and the living room, and they were all kind of the same thing. They're
Yeah.
pretty much in one room or something.
Yeah. So if there's two of you, it depends on how much you like each other.
Yeah,
I think.
I don't know if I ever liked anybody that much.
But yeah, the studios are the smallest, and the 3-bedrooms are huge. Actually, this building has 4 of the 3-bedrooms, and they're big. They're big enough for a family because they are just absolutely huge. And then a little bit of everything in between, 1s and 2s, and lots of variety.
Well, if you're at all curious about this, again, 955-2955 is the number to call. Also, the email address, and get ready for this one. It's manager.phillips at, give me the rest of it there, Stephen.
Rentourspace.com.
Rentourspace.com. I couldn't even read my own handwriting. Rentourspace.com. So, manager.phillips@rentourspace.com. You can do that, certainly. And you expect Sean to have people in there, well, it sounds like 3 weeks from today.
Yeah, we got a couple more things we got to get right, to follow the rules, but we're getting really close. And within the next couple of weeks, we're going to be ready for people to start moving in.
Now, how long is it going to be until the end of construction? Because you guys look like you still got a full crew over there.
We still have quite a few people there. We're going to be working right up into those initial leasing weeks. The apartments, of course, will all be done, but one of the things we're doing there is restoring the great big auditorium that's in the middle, and that we're actually doing last. So people will actually be living there out in the apartments while we're finishing up the auditorium. So we'll be there probably through the end of February, but then we'll be gone. And although there's still a lot of people there, we're probably down to less than half of our peak staffing that you would have seen a month or so ago.
Okay, all right. All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. We're talking the Phillips Luxury Apartments. I'm getting that pretty fast anyway. And we're talking with Sean and Steven here. How in the world did Fouch Brothers ever get into this line of work?
Well, I don't really know. My brothers and I
It just happened one day.
Yeah, we all started renting apartments on our own in different corners of the country. And then we had some friends who did this kind of work, and we learned about it through. I'm an engineer. One of my brothers is an architect, and the other is kind of a
ISU
construction
guys,
guy.
or
Yeah, all ISU guys.
All
yeah,
right.
tried and true.
Good man.
And the pieces just kind of came together. So, but been doing it about 12 years, I think now.
Okay.
So
it's a great idea.
It's a great idea if you can make it work. It's not real easy to make it work, but this formula we figured out. We know how to make schools into apartments. So
well, the fact is, our rural areas have kind of emptied out. There's some schools where the population just wouldn't support, and that's too bad. But it's just the way it is. I mean, to the west of us and west of us, of course, there's some counties with 6,000 people in the county.
Yeah,
and they're older people, so they may have a great school there, but I don't know how you'd turn that. You could probably tell me about it. But.
Well, and so they've got a school they don't need anymore, but they also need housing. Small towns in Iowa just have a terrible time building new housing. And because we're doing these historic renovations, we can access some public monies that help us save these old historic schools, and that helps pay the bill. So it makes it possible to develop housing sometimes where it's just not possible in a town by any other means.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's pretty cool.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge, and this has been a very interesting conversation for me anyway. We're talking about Old North Junior High School for those of you who remember it that way, but it was Phillips Middle School for many, many, many years, and now it's the Phillips Luxury Apartments. So guys, it's great to have you in here. Stephen, I'd like to have one of those tours if you don't mind.
Yeah,
and
no problem.
That would be very, very interesting. And again, the number to call is 955-2955 if you're interested, or the email address. I'm going to try this again, manager.phillips@rentarspace.com.
He's got it.
The fourth time is the charm. All right, guys, thanks a lot.
You bet.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFT, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Michael Devine, the mayor of Manville.
It's a fancy title for a part-time job.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 227. David Osterberg with the Iowa Policy Project coming up. News, weather, the obituaries, all that good stuff. It's Divine Intervention continues. AM 1400 KVFD. Yeah!
In the morning when I wake, a feeling soon begins to overtake me. Ringing in my ears resounds through my brain and finally surrounds me.
There is fire, there is life, there is passion, fever and fury.
The reason it bad.
Yeah, there is love and there is hate, there is longing, anger and worry.
More I am afraid. Feel it touch my heart. And down at my core is the hardest part. I can run without fear.
DSOC wants to wish everyone a very prosperous and happy new year. We would like to start off the year with our Save the Date for the 24th Annual DSOC Cake Auction, to be held on April 13th, 2019. Located again this year at Iowa Central East Campus. At DSOC, we believe that everyone deserves a violence-free life. With your help, we can continue to provide safety, support, and hope to victims and survivors in our community. If you would like to donate or volunteer for this year's event, give us a call at 955-2273. Hope to see you there.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The Sac County Sheriff's Office and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation continue to investigate a shooting that occurred around 12:30 a.m. yesterday. The incident occurred at 3104 330th Street in Lakeview, Iowa. The victim of the shooting has been identified as 55-year-old Richard Vosberg. Vosberg lives at this residence. Vosberg was transferred to Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City with non-life-threatening injuries. Vosberg was shot by an unknown male that came to his residence. After examining the crime scene and conducting interviews, law enforcement believed that Vosberg was targeted by the assailant and that there is not a general threat to the public. Law enforcement does, however, encourage the public to report all suspicious activity, no matter how insignificant callers may think it is. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the Sac County Sheriff's Office at 712-662-712. This week at the Fort Dodge City Council meeting, City Council rejected a development plan from KDG LLC in Columbia, Missouri that would have developed a high-end apartment complex near Rosedale Rapids on the east side of Fort Dodge. Despite the result on Monday, Councilmember Terry Menke said on the Divine Intervention show yesterday that providing adequate housing in Fort Dodge remains a top priority.
So we have been very aggressive with our housing. It's been a top priority of ours for as long as I can remember on our capital improvement plans. Housing's always been towards the top. The concerns the other night and my concerns with what was happening, I think the project that was presented to us, I'm not sure was in the right location.
Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said on the Divine Intervention show that the city has other options.
We have other apartment developers that we've been talking to, so we'll continue to work it. I mean, we're not going to propose this site, obviously. And it's not up to us, really. It's up to the applicant and the property owner to come to some deal and then make a proposal on a site.
A Cedar Rapids area man is now jailed on $3 million bond in the killing of a woman whose body was found along a Muscatine road last week. Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
35-year-old Douglas Foster of Marion is charged with first-degree murder and the death of 20-year-old Leah Ponce of Fairfield. Investigators say Ponce was last seen January 8th getting into Foster's pickup at a Walmart. Her body was located a short time later along Highway 38. An autopsy found Ponce died of blunt force trauma from being hit and dragged by a vehicle. The criminal complaint says Ponce stole a large amount of methamphetamine from a motel room, and the drug dealer offered a bounty to anyone who could find her. Prosecutors say Foster made 2 calls to that dealer just before authorities found the body. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
This has been Alex Benzagala with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Protecting a crop's genetic yield potential. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner, and this is Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with Arista Life Science. Margins are tight, and growers are looking for ways to increase yields and boost profit potential. In this Managing for Profit, Lynn Justison shares how Unlock 5 crop life cycle strategies can help growers protect their crop from environmental factors that can reduce yields. We'll find out more on Brownfield right after this.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Matthew.
Huh? Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I just need you to listen to me.
I know that a lot of times, Mom, it might not seem like I'm listening to you, but I am. I hear you. And what you say really does matter to me.
I mean, let's be honest. No kid likes rules, but I get why we have them. I hear you, and I know it's because you care.
For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Lynn Justison, a technical sales specialist, says now is a great time for farmers to take a look at last year, see what worked, what didn't, and how farmers can improve yield potential this year.
As you think of those, and we think about within those, I think you can really break that down into areas or segments where you may be able to influence things at specific times. So whether it's crop establishment, it could be your plant growth stage or your architecture stage.
He tells Brownfield Unlock 5 is a systems approach to unlocking the genetic potential at the 5 stages of the crop life cycle.
Those 5 life stages are establishment, architecture, photosynthesis, reproduction, and then fruit sizing or yield. We identify those 5 particular life stages. You look at them, And then we started to go, okay, what do we have that we can help with, and what do we have that can influence within each one of these particular life stages? And when we go through that life stage, of what we found with Arista is we're much broader into that portfolio than we ever thought, or broader into the life cycle, to the point where from the time you plant it to the time you harvest it, we have some things that can go in there and help influence each one of those particular life stages. And then what can we do with those, and then what we can do to help maximize what's going on within that plant, whether it's corn or soybeans or wheat, or maybe even a specialty crop. What can we do within each one of those life cycles to maximize what's going on in that plant, to ensure that at the very end, we have the best product we can out the back end of it.
Justison gives an example of how the system can work.
If you look at something like a Tapera Plus, right? It's an in-furrow product that was specifically built just for the starter fertilizer in-furrow market. And if you look at that in-furrow market, mixability, compatibility, and all that were really key driving forces on why that came out. But what has happened is once we get to that point where we're combining a fungicide and an insecticide in furrow, we see things much beyond just one compatibility and maybe the ability of that insecticide to protect us from early plant pests. By adding a fungicide to it, we've done things like add 20% more roots, right? We see an average of over 1,200 more plants per acre when you put it in furrow. So now we've taken something that was built just because of compatibility, and now we've added additional things like increased plant stand, earlier root growth. We see a more even emergence, and those things all set the stage for the possibility of yielding more at the end of the season.
I'm Megan Grebner with Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with Arista Life Science.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge 236. First of all, in the weather, 26 degrees with hazardous weather conditions to report. 4 to 7 inches of snow overnight, and by the time the weekend is over, even more, and it'll be a nasty, nasty night. Tomorrow morning, especially, the snow will be heavy. Our high will be 19. Wind chill factor temperature 0. On Saturday, it'll be sunny with a high of 11. Sunday, it's going to be cold. There's no way around it. Our high will maybe be 10 degrees, of course, with plenty of wind chill factor temperature thrown in. Martin Luther King Day is Monday. There'll be, again, a really good chance of snow with a high only of 22 and, again, a lot of wind. On Tuesday, mostly cloudy, high 19. Wednesday, mostly sunny with a high of 21. So winter got here. It took a while, but I knew it was going to get here. Right now, 26 degrees. Again, in the next 24 hours to 36 hours, we could get up to 7 inches of snow. So there you go. Those of you who've been waiting for winter, which I really haven't. But I take heart in the fact that here we are, the 17th of January, and we're just that much closer to baseball season, ladies and gentlemen. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Mitch Dunn has died. Charles Mitchell Dunn has passed away at the age of 72. There will be a service celebrating the life of Mitch Dunn, and that'll be Saturday the 19th at Gunderson Funeral Chapel with full military rites. Time for gathering will be at 12:30 until the time of service Saturday, of course, at Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services. Bernice Ricks has died. Services for Bernice Ricks were at 11 o'clock this morning at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Richard Kopp has passed away. Mr. Kopp's service was also this morning at Gunderson Funeral Home. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 238 and 26 degrees, AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. With a look at the closing market report, here's Dwayne Merlin.
Let's take a look at the markets here at midday. March corn is up 2 cents at $3.76. Maize up 2 at $3.84 1/4. July is up 1 3/4 at $3.91 3/4, and September's up 1 1/2 at $3.95 1/4. March soybeans are up 3 cents at $8.97 1/2. Maize up 2 3/4 at $9.10 3/4. July is up 2 3/4 at $9.23 1/2. August up 2 3/4 at 9.28 3/4. March wheat's up 4 1/4 at 5.17. Soybean meal's up 80 cents a ton at 3.10.90. February live cattle down 125 at 126.57. April's down $1 at 126.72. January feeder cattle down 220 at 141.50. March down 175 at 142.95. February lean hogs up 67 cents at 60.72. April down 62 at 64.45. I'm Dwayne Murley.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
You don't have bad luck. The reason that bad things happen to you is because you're a dumbass.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
All right, there you go. How many guys on air have 60 rounds of freedom? And David Osterberg, ladies and gentlemen. How many, I ask you? I don't know which best, the 60 rounds of freedom or David Osterberg. David, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you, Mike?
David Osterberg is a co-founder of the Iowa Policy Project in Iowa City, or the People's Republic of Johnson County, whichever you prefer, or both. The Iowa Policy Project is a group I admire. They do their best to bring forward and let the people of the state of Iowa know what's happening in our state. In other words, research-backed fact that they hope will affect public policy. Although, of course, as David and I have found out, facts and reason play a very small part in politics. President Trump, by the way, to show once again what politics is about in the year 2019, Nancy Pelosi wanted to go to Europe on for some reason, but Trump canceled her plane ride, saying, well, there's a government shutdown. We really can't afford it, Nancy. Sorry. So a couple of teenagers throwing rocks at each other.
No kidding. I didn't hear that. All right,
yeah.
good.
It's the absolute truth. She was supposed to go on some European tour, Speaker of the House, and blah, 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 blah. You know, if there's somebody who likes the trappings of office, it's Nancy Pelosi. There's no doubt. But Trump, just to slap her back for her crack on the State of the Union address, that he should postpone it. When the Homeland Security said, no, there's no problem. We can secure the State of the Union speech. She said, I don't care. Where the government shut down, we shouldn't spend the money on a State of the Union speech. So Trump says, fine, you can't go to Europe. So there. Let's get out the rattles and diapers, ladies and gentlemen.
So you're looking for the science behind all of this.
I'm looking for the reasonable people in government who would be swayed by fact, reason, and yes, science. Can you show me where they are, David?
Well, I mean, not in every case. Some cases, though, sure.
There's times I start off with you and I sound completely morbid. This is one of those days. Oh God, there's Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I don't know. Anyway, in our state, by the way, I should announce now that I've been talking about Congressman King being here Wednesday the 23rd. He will not be here the 23rd. He did offer to be on tomorrow, but I'm off tomorrow, so I'm not going to talk to him tomorrow. But we're going to try to find a spot for Congressman King to be on the air next week and take calls. As everybody knows, boy, did he step in it. So he's been in trouble, and he's going to start touring the 4th District, which is probably a good thing for him to do. But Governor Reynolds now has given her State of the State address, and Chief Justice Mark Cady of the Iowa Supreme Court, who lives right here in Fort Dodge, has given his State of the Judiciary. Let's focus first on the State of the State address. What did you think of Governor Reynolds' address?
She's good at speaking, that's for sure. She just looks good on TV.
Oh, well, she's a very attractive woman. Now, people say that and like I'm some sort of sexist, but I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as a communication guy who studies these things, ugly people are not going to be on major public figures at the state or federal level anymore. They're just not. There's going to be no more Lyndon Johnsons. Lyndon Johnson was a master of the Senate, but he was a big old floppy-eared guy, and he just didn't look good on TV.
But he was effective.
He was very effective.
Yes.
But that was, he was president 50 years ago. he was a very bright, and he was responsible for Medicare and so many good things. He had the war on poverty. The Vietnam War took him down, which was terrible for our country, frankly. The Vietnam War was terrible for our country, and that Johnson didn't get to enact a lot of his policies is even a greater tragedy. But the point I'm trying to make is all our presidents are not going to look like Lyndon Johnson or Richard Nixon anymore. They're going to look like John Kennedy and Barack Obama and Ronald Reagan.
That's right. They got that great jaw, tall.
They do.
That's what the other thing.
And Kim Reynolds, by the way, as David just said, looks great and sounds great on television. So our days of having some guy up there or some woman up there who mumbles or isn't very good behind a microphone and in front of a camera, that's over with.
Yeah, it doesn't look that good. I mean, even they can be really articulate too. Yeah. But if you're not articulate and you don't look good, don't go into politics, I guess.
That's right. That's right. And I really think...
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, wouldn't it be good if we were really interested in what was said rather than who was saying it?
Well, that... I hate it that you had to say that. I really hate it that you had to say that. But you're right. Wouldn't it be great?
Yeah. So, and we looked at what our governor said, and few things sound better. I mean, they have underfunded K through 12 schools for such a long time. Last year was 1.1% increase. I mean, and realize a school district has to pay. They have inflation that increases their costs like everybody else, and yet they have been getting less than inflation for so many years, about the last 8 years. But at least this year, she's actually asked for kind of inflation, 2.3% increase. That's better. That's better. It's not great, but it's better.
Well, and I'll have our own representative in here, the assistant majority leader for the one of the assistant majority leaders of the House, Mike Sexton, and he's going to tell us, listen, we would spend more money on education, but 85% of the money that we spend on education goes to teacher salaries, and we don't want to do that anymore. And every time that comes up, the teacher salary thing comes up, the air goes right out of the education bill. We don't mind spending money, but for some reason, we don't want to pay the teachers anymore.
Yeah, why? And why? Why is that? I mean,
well,
you think that you get better teaching if you underfund people? You put them on food stamps? I mean, come on. I mean, this is where you get your start in life. And everybody knows, a good teacher makes a difference in a kid's life. And it isn't, people aren't in it for the money, but they also aren't in it to just become poorer every year.
No. I don't know. I went to a Catholic elementary school. I still have scars.
Yes, right.
I psychic, emotional, and physical scars.
Physical, sure. Let's see your backs of your hands. Huh?
Oh, right. God, yes. You hated to get sent to the first aid room. That's right. I'll talk to you in the first aid room. Oh, God, this means I'm going to need first aid.
And the other thing, and the other thing in education, there again, the governor is saying that this is what the Regents universities have asked for. We're going to try to give it to them. But again, she has to get by Mike Sexton and a whole lot of other people, especially the senators. Yeah, I'm not sure they want to do that. They don't like teachers. They don't like the University of Iowa.
Well, it is part of the Republican mantra. It's in the 10 commandments of being in the Republican Party that labor costs should be controlled. That is the one big cost in education or any business that management can control. So they're going to screw down labor. The fact that you and I have talked before, at least I've talked with you about it, that's what illegal immigration is about. It's not about racism or anything like that. The reason we have illegal immigrants in such great number in our state, in our country, is because business wants them here. The Republican Party wants them here. I don't care what Trump is doing down there, but you can go to any large farm, and as a matter of fact, go up here to these chicken houses northeast of town, and you'll find illegals there. The point being, with the Republicans, it's always about driving to the bottom as far as labor costs are concerned. And they can go out and sell that in Iowa. Well, look, this is what teachers are making. They're making this, and they have IPERS, and they have all this. Do you have this? they'll tell somebody in a small town, well, no, we don't. So we don't want you to vote for greater pay for teachers.
Right. So first of all, you take away what's reasonable, a retirement system for workers. And since you can do it in the private sector, then that's a reason to do it in the public sector. Never asking the question, do we want people to be able to retire with dignity? And that's the other thing. Kim Reynolds kept talking about dignity. And I think it's important. I wish it were pervasive within her party.
I wonder what she meant by that. Dignity.
She said it like 3 times.
I know. Anyway. But I just like her to define that a little bit better. What do you mean by dignity? I mean, does that mean we're going to have old folks' homes the size of football stadiums, or what? Right. Or are we going to have people in genuine dignity, independent living with a certain amount of comfort and a certain amount of financial security? What is your definition of dignity? Because that sounds awful good in a speech. But as you know, David, I am the ultimate cynic. And when somebody starts saying these things and giving a speech like Governor Reynolds the other night, I'm sitting there dissecting it. So I would really like Governor Reynolds, who will not, by the way, demand E-Verify in our state for people in the country illegally. In other words, driving down costs for her big agriculture supporters. I'm going to wonder what she means by dignity.
Now, well, we would hope that it would extend to things like having a minimum wage, which doesn't put you into poverty, or a minimum wage at least equivalent to what Richard Nixon did. That's funny, isn't it? That the highest we ever got in a minimum wage in the United States of America was under President Nixon, who people don't necessarily think was that good, but he was probably better for workers than a whole bunch of people.
Nixon did a lot of things. He created the EPA. He opened up the door to China, which was a big deal. Yeah, he did. If it wouldn't have been for the lying thief part, he'd have been okay.
Right. There was that.
There was that, yeah. I mean, if it wouldn't have been for the really creepy guy underneath all that, I mean, it would have been... he would have been a very successful president.
Yeah.
I mean, it was he was in office when Title 19 was passed, and Title 19 has probably been used in ways that he never thought it would be. But it seemed like his heart and those around Title 19, at least their heart was in the right place.
Yeah, well, I think, and heart would be something. And again, that's what you hope for when somebody says dignity, dignity, dignity. Maybe it's even more times than that. But I wish it would have gone a little further. One thing is minimum wage. The other is that oftentimes people go to work and they're just lied to by their employer and they don't get paid what they claimed they were going to. And we actually have a state office that is supposed to make sure this doesn't happen. And there's half of 1% person in that office. That's all the time we allocate to that. There is another way of getting some dignity. Stop wage theft.
Yeah, wage theft is a crime. That is really, well, yeah, boy, you hit my hot button with that wage theft, because that's more prevalent than people realize.
Yeah, and it hurts businesses when some business, some fly-by-nighter comes in and undercuts some legitimate business because they aren't planning on actually paying what they told the workers they were going to do.
Well, and that strikes immigrants to our country more than a lot of people.
It does.
understand.
It does. Probably it does. And anybody who has a problem with languages, for sure, whether they're legal or not.
Well, even if they don't, even if they understand clearly, they can be screwed. And where are they going to go?
Yeah.
And these guys will tell them that too. And so when I hear Democrats or Republican praising immigration, I'm thinking to myself, what's going on. What's going on. These people are being brutalized and exploited in the worst way, and you sit there and sound like it's a positive good. So I'm questioning dignity. Well, you caught me at a bad day, didn't you?
Oh, well, or a good day. I'm not sure. A more interesting day.
More interesting day. David Osterberg is our guest. He's with the Iowa Policy Project in Iowa City. You can find out more about the Iowa Policy Project. There's great information and science there and everything, ladies and gentlemen. You can go there by finding iowapolicyproject.com or .org, or iowafiscal.org. You'll find Peter Fisher all over that sucker.
You will, and Peter's really good at what he does.
He is. He is professor of economics emeritus at the University of Iowa, and he is recognized statewide and perhaps in the Midwest.
And nationwide on some things like TIFs.
TIF,
you and tax increment financing. I know that you and he talk about that, but he's like the nation expert on it.
Yeah, he talks about it, and I scream and holler. That's usually the way it is. He's gotten used to it over the years. That's a good thing. So what else did you like in Governor Reynolds' speech or dislike?
Well, again, I don't have much to criticize. It's just that it didn't go as far as I would like. And also, I mean, this whole thing about Medicaid, many people believe that privatizing the Medicaid program was actually a mistake. And she said something about intending to fix some of the problems, but I don't know if I trust that. She said it, though. She said it. That's good.
I have talked to some of the providers who were having a lot of trouble getting paid and wondering if it was in their best interests to continue taking Medicaid patients at all.
Yeah.
That's where we were getting to. And some of them have said that some of the bugs have been worked out. But I don't know.
And the whole point in it is somehow that we take a system where there's very little overhead because it's state workers and they aren't paid that much, and we can argue about that. And you move it to a private system where they're going to have 15% return on their investment. It seems like that going from, say, 5% to 15%, you got to make it up somewhere, and what you make it up with is what you're not giving in benefits or paying the people who are providing the services to those people. That's what I think.
Well, I think you're probably right. We have I've had Democrats tell me in the past, and I've been talking with Democrats for many years about being more pro-labor, and some of them have finally just said, even workers in Iowa are anti-labor. I mean, we don't have a strong history of unions in our state. We seem to have a culture of being willing to work hard for not a lot.
Yeah,
I don't know why that is. But we do. We do. And boy, in other parts of the country, that just doesn't go.
Yeah. Well, and then it's true enough. We have not had that great history of labor organizing in the state, although it's certainly better than, well, you can always say it's better than South Dakota or it's better than Kansas. So thank God for Kansas.
And sure as hell better than Nebraska.
Right.
It's the big empty space between Iowa and Colorado.
Right. Right, that people have to traverse with their legal drugs in Colorado.
That's right. There's another excuse for me to move to Colorado. They got legalized weed out there now.
Yeah, well, I don't know what's going to happen with that issue. I mean, again, there wasn't a lot on issues in the speech. Nice speech. She looked good, as I said. She said some pretty nice things. And the main thing the Iowa Policy Project would say is, boy, you didn't go far enough. If you really want to do something for working people, you didn't get there.
Well, I just think it was a nice speech, I just think it was a nice speech. That's all. I watched it. I was more interested in what Chief Justice Cady had to say because I know he was going to be more direct, and he was. He wants a 4% increase in judicial spending, and he gave a number of reasons why that had to happen. And he also asked for a pay increase for those involved in the judicial process. So I heard him say that. Now, whether it gets done, I don't know. I don't. I didn't think at this point in life, this is what we'd still be talking about, because I was talking about this nearly 50 years ago. And here we are, and really not a lot has changed as far as our economy in Iowa is concerned.
Well, we're still a low-wage state, and we're still not growing very fast. We have about the same number of people we did 50 years ago.
That's okay with some people. They don't want a lot of, they don't want a lot. unless it benefits them, they don't want to hear about it. I mean, they don't want to hear about it. So I don't. There's a lot of talk about rejuvenating our rural areas, but to me, it sounds like, well, let's bring a whole bunch of poor people from south of the border here and put them to work for very low wages for terribly difficult work, and we'll declare ourselves good. That's not my idea of rejuvenating a rural area. Anyway, thank you for listening to me gripe again for another 20 minutes, David. Certainly do appreciate that. David Osterberg is co-founder of the Iowa Policy Project. Go to iowapolicyproject.org or iowafiscal.org. A lot of good information there. Thank you, David.
Bye, Mike.
All right, take care. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Bill Horn is next. KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
This is Dave Graveline. Be sure to listen to Into Tomorrow right here on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge. The president cancels a congressional flight. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Trump grounding the Speaker of the House's planned trip to visit troops in Afghanistan and meet with allies at NATO and in Egypt. Fox's Jared Halpern's live on Capitol Hill.
The details of that congressional delegation led by House Speaker Nancy Pelosi had not been made public. President Trump, in a letter to the speaker, says he has now postponed a 7-day trip to Egypt, Afghanistan, and
Bye,
Belgium.
Mike.
All right.
Congressional delegations often travel on official business overseas on military aircraft. In the letter, the president says it would be better if Pelosi stayed in Washington to negotiate border security to end the shutdown. Earlier this week, Pelosi suggested rescheduling the State of the Union address because of the government shutdown. Rich.
Jared, Speaker Pelosi's office issuing a statement saying the delegation had hoped to thank troops and meet with NATO leaders. President Trump again calling for Congress to fund his border wall during a speech at the Pentagon earlier today.
A wall has to be built. We need security at our southern border. Drugs flow in. Tremendous percentages of the drugs coming into our country come from the southern border. We're not going to allow it to happen.
The border wall issue has been the key obstacle in ending the partial government shutdown. Another caravan of migrants seeking asylum are heading to the U.S.
The caravan of Central American migrants remains about 2,000 strong. They're expected to add members as they cross through the nation of Guatemala. There, they'll test their reception at the border with Mexico en route to the U.S. U.S. Border Patrol says of the 7,000 Central American migrants in the previous convoy back in October, as many as half tried to enter the U.S. illegally. Others stayed to work in Mexico, and a smaller number returned home to Central America.
Fox's Steve Harrigan in Guatemala. U.S. stock indexes all showing up in positive territory at the end of trading. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield, another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Michigan State University forcing the interim president out following comments he made about victims of the school's disgraced former sports doctor.
The MSU Board of Trustees accepting interim president and former Governor John Engel's resignation after he told the Detroit News that Larry Nassar's victims continue to enjoy their spotlight. Survivors like 15-year-old Ashley Weisbord.
We don't enjoy the spotlight. We just want to get the message out there that there needs to be change.
All part of the fallout of the sex abuse scandal that sent Dr. Nassar to prison, led to multiple firings or resignations at Michigan State, USA Gymnastics, and the U.S. Olympic Committee, into a $500 million settlement between MSU and victims. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Neighbors of a Georgia man are in shock that he's accused of plotting to attack the White House.
When the FBI arrested 21-year-old Jalal Taleb at his family home in Cumming, Georgia, near Atlanta, the neighbors looked on in disbelief that he could be charged with hatching a plot to attack the White House.
They're relatively quiet. I know the mom just is the way anyone would know their neighbor, just in passing, and she's a really sweet lady. She works hard. She's got 3 kids, and I don't understand how that's happening there.
Authorities acted on a tip who said Taleb had become radicalized. They believe he also intended to travel to the Middle East, to areas under control of ISIS. Eben Brown, Fox News.
A judge today acquitting 3 Chicago police officers of trying to cover up the 2014 shooting of black teenager Laquan McDonald. The judge says after considering the evidence, including dashcam video of the killing, she didn't find the officers conspired to cover up the shooting. Jason Van Dyke, the officer convicted in October of second-degree murder for shooting McDonald 16 times, is scheduled to be sentenced in Chicago on Friday. I'm Rich Dennison, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The Sac County Sheriff's Office and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation continue to investigate a shooting that occurred around 12:30 a.m. yesterday. The incident occurred at 3104 330th Street in Lakeview, Iowa. The victim of the shooting has been identified as 55-year-old Richard Vosberg. Vosberg lives at this residence. Vosberg was transferred to Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City with non-life-threatening injuries. Vosberg was shot by an unknown male that came to his residence. After examining the crime scene and conducting interviews, law enforcement believed that Vosberg was targeted by the assailant and that there is not a general threat to the public. Law enforcement does, however, encourage the public to report all suspicious activity, no matter how insignificant callers may think it is. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the Sac County Sheriff's Office at 712-662-712. This week at the Fort Dodge City Council meeting, City Council rejected a development plan from KDG LLC in Columbia, Missouri that would have developed a high-end apartment complex near Rosedale Rapids on the east side of Fort Dodge. Despite the result on Monday, Councilmember Terry Menke said on the Divine Intervention show yesterday that providing adequate housing in Fort Dodge remains a top priority.
So we have been very aggressive with our housing. It's been a top priority of ours for as long as I can remember on our capital improvement plans. Housing's always been towards the top. The concerns the other night and my concerns with what was happening, I think the project that was presented to us, I'm not sure was in the right location.
Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said on the Divine Intervention show that the city has other options.
We have other apartment developers that we've been talking to, so we'll continue to work it. I mean, we're not going to propose this site, obviously. And it's not up to us, really. It's up to the applicant and the property owner to come to some deal and then make a proposal on a site.
A Cedar Rapids area man is now jailed on $3 million bond in the killing of a woman whose body was found along a Muscatine road last week. Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
35-year-old Douglas Foster of Marion is charged with first-degree murder and the death of 20-year-old Leah Ponce of Fairfield. Investigators say Ponce was last seen January 8th getting into Foster's pickup at a Walmart. Her body was located a short time later along Highway 38. An autopsy found Ponce died of blunt force trauma from being hit and dragged by a vehicle. The criminal complaint says Ponce stole a large amount of methamphetamine from a motel room, and the drug dealer offered a bounty to anyone who could find her. Prosecutors say Foster made 2 calls to that dealer just before authorities found the body. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A winter storm warning will go into effect here Friday afternoon. We'll see mostly cloudy skies this afternoon with temperatures holding rather steady. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 16. Friday, a chance for snow showers here, 2 to 4 inches possible, a high around 21. And Friday night, chance for snow, 2 to 4 inches possible. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 26.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes.
all of a sudden it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
When you're hiring, some job boards make you sort through tons of the wrong resumes, which makes finding a great candidate like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. That's not smart. Then there's the smart way at ZipRecruiter. Unlike other job sites, ZipRecruiter finds great candidates for you. That's why you should try it now for free. Their powerful matching technology scans thousands of resumes to identify people with the right skills, education, and experience, and actively invites them to apply to your job. So you get qualified candidates fast. And while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds what you're looking for, the needle in the haystack.
ZipRecruiter is rated #1 by employers in the U.S. That's based on hiring sites on Trustpilot with over 1,000 reviews. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, for free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Michael Devine at AM 1400
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
with 60 rounds of freedom.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. We are going to tell the truth, make it matter, and never be boring. That is our goal here today, and we're not going to be boring this hour, that's for sure. I may be the Doctor of Truth, but on the phone with me is the Master of Reality, Bill Horn. How are you, Bill?
Yeah, I'm great, Michael. It's always great to talk to the Doctor of Truth.
Actually, I think you know the truth better than I do. I'm pretty sure of it. Now, the Fort Dodge Messenger today, and by the way, Bill Horn came on at the very last minute. I got a hold of him by text this morning, and he agreed to come on, and I always appreciate that, and we're always delighted to have Bill Horn on the air with us. I read in the Fort Dodge Messenger, it was a headline, and it was a headline as well in the Des Moines Register. Well, let me put it this way. Congressman Steve King's getting his head handed to him, and there are demands for his resignation, and there are even Republicans now, and that was the emphasis of the Fort Dodge Messenger's piece, is that local Republicans are coming out in opposition to Congressman King, and they want him to resign, and on and on and on, and all these sorts of things. Dave Jepkes, who I know and like, former representative of Gowrie, he has suggested that Congressman King retire. Somebody by the name of Stan Watney, apparently a former Wright County supervisor, has said King is disgusting. There's no room for that kind of talk in our Republican Party or in our nation. You're getting the drift here, right, Bill?
You bet.
There's also someone quoted in here by the name of Bill Horn, who's on the phone with me, and you have stood for Congressman King. And I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in here before you start, Bill, and you may elaborate as you wish for as long as you like. But as you know, I've been a strong supporter of Congressman King for a long time. But I am a little worn out about the congressman being in the Toronto mayor's race or over in Austria giving interviews to some right-wing magazine. Now, I'm a pretty right-wing guy myself, but there comes a time when I have to say to Congressman King, will you come home and represent the 4th District? Come on, man. I share the frustration of some who see Congressman King doing a lot of things that we wish he wouldn't do necessarily, and represent the 4th District. He's off the Ag Committee now, been replaced by Cindy Axne, a Democrat, so we lost all his experience to somebody with no experience, and that can't be good for us.
Well, I feel the same way about Congressman King as I feel about President Trump. Put a filter on it.
A little bit.
Yes.
Just a little one.
Absolutely. But on the other hand, I do believe that Congressman King oftentimes says things that a lot of people think, but nobody's going to say out loud. Louis Gohmert came out the next day, and Congressman from Texas, and he was very supportive of Congressman King. He knows Congressman King like many of us do. He's in no way is he a racist. That's not who he is at all. Although he's characterized that way by some of the things he says. But one of the concerns right now is that McCarthy took the New York Times article verbatim, and there's some discussion whether the New York Times correctly wrote the things that King said.
Oh, I believe if I just may interject, Bill, I don't think the New York Times did characterize what Congressman King said correctly. My real question is, who the hell recommended that Steve King talk to the New York Times? They were going to slant it. They don't like King.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely.
I don't know what got into his head talking to the New York Times. If you want to talk to somebody, come home and talk to me. or any number of friendlier people around the country. I know he had a national message he wanted to get out, but the Dallas Morning Sun is available, the Atlanta Constitution Journal. I mean, I don't know what he was doing talking with the New York Times.
Sure. There's other media, but one of the things that's always irritated me, they make such a big deal about Congressman King having a Confederate flag in his office.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anybody that's ever been in his office, as I have many times, he has a glass-covered coffee table in the middle of his office, and under that coffee table, he has probably 100 different little souvenirs people have given him. And the Confederate flag, I think it's a refrigerator magnet. It's about the size of a book of matches, and you have to look to find it. But I think it's a refrigerator magnet, but it is there, and I don't know how he got it or who gave it to him, but it's in there with 100 other souvenirs and mementos and gifts and things. And I've never paid a bit of attention to it, except that I know it's there. But the media makes it sound like he's got a full-size Confederate flag flying in his office.
No, he did. But I tell you, Bill, I saw a picture around the time of the Confederate flag controversy and the statues that they're knocking down in the South. And that concerns me, by the way, not because I'm a racist, because those who want to remake a society, the first thing they have to do is destroy history. And that is what the radical left wants to do. And yes, there's a radical, hateful left in our country, in Fort Dodge and in our state. But right after this Confederate flag controversy a year or two ago, there was a picture of Congressman King in his office, and he had a little flag stand, miniature flags of the states and around the country on the front of his desk. And there prominently displayed was a mini Confederate flag. Now, why he would allow somebody in his office to take a picture of that, I don't know. I mean, maybe it was his way of giving all the liberals the middle finger, which I would understand. But I'm in favor of giving liberals the middle finger. There's just other ways to do it that don't make us all look bad.
Well, I've been there a number of times, as I said, and I've never seen that flag. So maybe it was there once. I don't know.
Well, maybe you just had it there a couple of days around that time. I don't know. I'm not doubting you. Please believe me, Bill. If you say it, I believe it absolutely. But that picture did exist.
Well, he calls himself a nationalist, which really sets some people off. But, when I was in sixth grade civics class, that's what we were taught. We were nationalists. We believed the United States is a great country, probably the greatest of all. And we've done things that no other country has done. And that was a good thing. We were proud of that.
Absolutely.
But,
you and I still are.
Congressman King has said many times he condemns the terms white nationalism and white supremacy. He has said that over and over. He condemns those terms. And when he uses those terms himself, it's for the reason of explaining some of this thought process that people have. It's not his thought process, because he says over and over he condemns that. But he believes in Western civilization. And Western civilization basically was developed by white people. That's not his fault. That's not anybody's fault. It's Europeans, and then Europeans came to the United States, and our system of laws are based on the British system, and so it is our culture has been developed by old white people like you and me, Mike.
That's right. I have talked with Congressman King on the air several times about nationalism and being in support of Western civilization, and I accept his argument on that. He makes it even better than I do, which is saying something, because I have faith in my own ability to express myself on those topics. And he hasn't done it so much, but I have several times on this radio station criticized the idea of multiculturalism and diversity. I think there is an intellectual argument to be made that these two pillars of the liberal faith are not in the best interests of our country. Multiculturalism, ladies and gentlemen, teaches us that each culture is valuable and equal to all others, and we should be respectful of each culture and be separate. Did you hear what I said? Be separate in our cultural identity. That is the exact opposite of the melting pot that made this country great. And
all you have to do is look at Europe.
That's right. That's the Balkans. Balkanization is called. The reason there's a Balkanization is because there's people there still to this day, and you wouldn't recognize the difference in them, but they know who they are. And they hate each other, and they've been making war for hundreds of years. The same thing in China and in Africa, on the African continent. It is exactly the same.
Well, and a good example of that is Minneapolis, St. Paul, where they have the biggest Somali group in the world, other than Somalia. And the Somalis in Minneapolis, St. Paul are not assimilating. They set up their own neighborhoods, their own culture, and there's many places in that the police will not go into their neighborhoods. It's too dangerous. And the same thing happens in Europe, but we have it right here in Minneapolis, St. Paul, the largest Somali settlements in the United States, and it's a dangerous place, and it is changing Minneapolis, St. Paul. Ask anybody that lives up there. Ask anybody that goes to the Mega Mall and see what's going on in there with the gangs. It's something that we've got to deal with.
Oh, and the mayor of Minneapolis and politicians and law enforcement people in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area are too cowed and too weak to do anything about it. There is a weakness that is masquerading as some sort of tolerance or social understanding of racist history that will destroy large parts of Minneapolis. It's happening in Detroit. There are certain Islamic areas in our country where, again, the police are hesitant to go. As a matter of fact, I have a suspicion that some of the mayors of major cities are telling the police not to go in these areas because the optics would be bad if a couple of big white cops are arresting a Muslim or some other person of color. It's utter cowardice is all it is. And why we allow it to happen, why we allow these political people to lecture us and to shame us is beyond me.
Yeah, well, it's a sad state of affairs. But you know, if you say anything against any race, even constructively, you're labeled a racist and you're shut down.
Well, there's an exception to that, Bill. White men who are Catholic. Now, that's a terrible thing to be. That is an absolutely terrible thing to be.
Yes, that's right. And especially an old white Catholic.
Old white Catholic. So you and I should just get out.
Well, the thing is that the Somali Muslims in Minneapolis, they want affirmation. They don't want just to be accepted and tolerated. They want affirmation that their society, the way they treat their women, so on and so forth, is just as good as any other society. And that's simply not true. They want affirmation, not just acceptance.
Well, in Chicago, a judge recently ruled that genital mutilation on young girls who are Muslim, which apparently is routine in certain rural and primitive areas in the Middle East, would be legal because that is part of their culture. So we have to allow in our country, in a major city in the United States, young girls to be mutilated because it is a religious custom in Egypt.
That is happening in Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah.
There's been articles in the Minneapolis paper. That's been happening in Minneapolis, and it's being allowed. Oftentimes it's the grandmother that does the mutilation.
Oh, it's horrendous even to consider. But a judge in the Chicago area ruled that, yes, we must be sensitive to this cultural tradition. I'm shocked. I'm just we are so weak and cowardly to allow this to continue.
All right, now I'm going to get in trouble.
All right. You're retired.
I'm going to say, yeah. I'm going to say it looks to me like the reason that the Democrats want open borders and a flood of Hispanic folks coming into this country is that they know that Hispanic voters are like 80% Republican. And they're having trouble getting U.S. citizens to vote for their policies. So they're importing votes from South America, Central America, and Mexico.
Bill, now Bill, let me interrupt you. You just said that these immigrants are 80% Republican. Is that what you wanted to say?
No, Democrat.
Yeah, that's what
Democrat.
I thought.
I'm sorry, I misspoke.
No, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that.
Yeah. So my point is, it looks to me like the only reason that the Democratic leadership is working as hard as they can to get as many Hispanics into this country as possible is because they know the majority of them will vote Democrat. And if you can't get American citizens to vote for your policies, bring in people that will.
They want to prove the Democrats see our country as an experiment. They really do, as an intellectual experience. I mean, there are a bunch of kids who never got out of college. I mean, really, they are, and they want to prove that that our society can be, as Bill Clinton said, a gorgeous mosaic. I used to love Bill Clinton. He was so full of it. He was so full of it. The feminist president, Bill Clinton. And everybody was shocked when Hillary lost. Oh my God, she lost.
Yeah.
Well, she did.
Well, this whole thing is crazy. I there was a great quote. I heard him say it actually. Senator Kennedy from I think Mississippi, and Senator Kennedy said he was talking about one of the Democrats talking about health care for all, Medicare for all, and he said, that guy must have been out in the quad throwing a Frisbee instead of going to Econ 101. That was a great quote.
We've allowed ourselves to be ruled by sociologists, not priests, not scientists, not generals, sociologists. Oh, it's just, how are we ever going to get any work done, Bill? I mean, we're Iowa guys. That's the way we think. How are we going to get some work done around here with these people?
Well, I'll tell you what, down here, living for the short time I've been down here in Scottsdale, there's no better workers than the Hispanic workers down here. In fact, I had one here today working on my furnace. They're great people.
I have no problem with it. That's right, 100%. By the way, elite liberals usually live in all white neighborhoods. I grew up with Mexican kids. They can shove it. I mean, those people, yes, multiculturalism. And then they go to somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who lives in a guarded all-white community. I mean, these such phonies and hypocrites. Well, you caught me on a good day here, didn't you, Bill?
Well, worse than that, where I grew up in a neighborhood where our two closest neighbors are from Minnesota.
Oh, no!
Oh, my God.
And they were Lutheran. German Lutherans have moved into the neighborhood. Oh, my God. Anyway, Bill Horn is our guest. Bill, can you come back in about 7 minutes?
Yeah, if you want to talk about the Hispanic views of the closed border down here.
I do want to talk about that and any information you might have as far as trade talks or moving agriculture forward.
You bet.
All right, Bill Horn, we'll be back. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for done.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge, 329. It's colder than, well, the only analogy that I have is obscene, so I just better say it's cold. It's 25 degrees. News coming up, more Bill Horan at AM 1400 KVFD. Come on!
Every morning when I wake, a feeling soon begins to overtake me. Ringing in my ears, resounds through my brain and finally surrounds me.
There is fire, there is life, there is passion, fever and fury. Yeah, there is love and there is hate, there is longing, anger and worry.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're
right,
probably
Bill
paying
Horn,
more than you should. Call Termbusters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
If you're struggling with weight and frustrated with dieting each and every year, Mark Patrick Hypnosis can help. Join over 500,000 people who have attended Mark Patrick Hypnosis programs with weight loss results. Mark Patrick Hypnosis will be in Fort Dodge on Wednesday, February 6th.
After this hypnosis, I want to eat good food.
Since August, I can honestly say I have not had one potato chip.
It was life-changing for me.
And I don't think about desserts like I used to.
I lost a total of 83 pounds.
It's easy, it's fun, very relaxing, and very successful.
And I would just say go for it.
For only $49.99, lose all the weight you want, 100% guaranteed. Wednesday, February 6th at the Quality Inn and Suites on Highway 169 South, Fort Dodge. The seminar will be held from 5:30 till 7:30 p.m. Registration starts at 5. Attend this program and find out how the power of hypnosis can help you achieve your weight loss goals. There's limited seating, so get there early. Learn more at markpatrickseminars.com.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The Sac County Sheriff's Office and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation continue to investigate a shooting that occurred around 12:30 a.m. yesterday. The incident occurred at 3104 330th Street in Lakeview, Iowa. The victim of the shooting has been identified as 55-year-old Richard Vosberg. Vosberg lives at this residence. Vosberg was transferred to Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City with non-life-threatening injuries. Vosberg was shot by an unknown male that came to his residence. After examining the crime scene and conducting interviews, law enforcement believed that Vosberg was targeted by the assailant and that there is not a general threat to the public. Law enforcement does, however, encourage the public to report all suspicious activity, no matter how insignificant callers may think it is. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the Sac County Sheriff's Office at 712-662-712. This week at the Fort Dodge City Council meeting, City Council rejected a development plan from KDG LLC in Columbia, Missouri that would have developed a high-end apartment complex near Rosedale Rapids on the east side of Fort Dodge. Despite the result on Monday, Councilmember Terry Menke said on the Divine Intervention show yesterday that providing adequate housing in Fort Dodge remains a top priority.
So we have been very aggressive with our housing. It's been a top priority of ours for as long as I can remember on our capital improvement plans. Housing's always been towards the top. The concerns the other night and my concerns with what was happening, I think the project that was presented to us, I'm not sure was in the right location.
Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said on the Divine Intervention show that the city has other options.
We have other apartment developers that we've been talking to, so we'll continue to work it. I mean, we're not going to propose this site, obviously. And it's not up to us, really. It's up to the applicant and the property owner to come to some deal and then make a proposal on a site.
A Cedar Rapids area man is now jailed on $3 million bond in the killing of a woman whose body was found along a Muscatine road last week. Radio Hour's Matt Kelly reports.
35-year-old Douglas Foster of Marion is charged with first-degree murder and the death of 20-year-old Leah Ponce of Fairfield. Investigators say Ponce was last seen January 8th getting into Foster's pickup at a Walmart. Her body was located a short time later along Highway 38. An autopsy found Ponce died of blunt force trauma from being hit and dragged by a vehicle. The criminal complaint says Ponce stole a large amount of methamphetamine from a motel room, and the drug dealer offered a bounty to anyone who could find her. Prosecutors say Foster made 2 calls to that dealer just before authorities found the body. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
This has been Alex Benzagala with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn up 6 cents at $3.80. May up 5 3/4 at $3.88. July corn up 5 1/2 at $3.95 1/2, and September up 4 3/4 at $3.98 1/2. March soybeans up 13 1/4 at $9.07 3/4. May up 13 cents at $9.21. July up 13 1/4 at $9.34. August up 13 cents at $9.39. March wheat closed up 5 1/4 at $5.17 3/4. Soybean meal up $2.10 a ton at $3.12.20. February live cattle down 72 cents at $127.10. April down 82 at $126.90. January feeder cattle down 235 at $141.42. March down 177 at $142.92. February lean hogs up 80 cents at $60.85. April down 45 at $64.62. I am Dwayne Merlin.
Well, that's 3:35 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 25 degrees. This afternoon it'll be cloudy. What's left of this afternoon, cloudy. Overnight, we're going to get some snow. Wind chill factor like 5 degrees below zero. It's going to start snowing overnight, and by tomorrow we could have 7 inches of snow or more. On Saturday, it's going to be sunny with a high of 11 degrees. Again, the wind chill factor temperatures will be down there. Sunday, a slight chance of snow, mostly cloudy, high 11. Plenty of wind with all these low temperatures, by the way. Martin Luther King Day is Monday. There's going to be a good chance of snow, cloudy with a high of 22. Wednesday, mostly cloudy, high 19. And Wednesday, sunny with a high of 21 degrees. But winter weather is here. 25 degrees right now at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilerseaversfuneralhome.com. Sorry to report the death of Rick Grannon, 66 years old when Rick passed. I knew Rick a long, long time, good guy. There will be a celebration of the life of Rick Grannon. That's going to be Saturday from 1 to 3 at Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home here in town, of course. Bernice Rick has died. Her funeral was this morning here in town at the Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Larry Davis of Lehigh has died at the age of 79. He passed away on Monday at the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home. Services, there will be a celebration of life, of the life of Larry D. Davis, 79 when he died, and that's going to happen at 2:30 in the afternoon, Sunday, January 20th at the Lions Den, also known as the Isaac Walton League. Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home in charge of arrangements. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 307 South 12th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Loftus Filer Seavers Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-3156 or online at www.loftusfilerseaversfuneralhome.com. It's 3:37 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 25 degrees.
Is pork fat, also known as lard, a health food? I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield. You might have seen a list of health foods circulating that includes pork fat. Okay, it's not a health food, but it does have some healthy fat properties. We turn to the Pork Board's nutritionist, Adria Husef.
It's a common misconception that lard is bad for you, may contribute to heart disease, clog the arteries, all of that. But what's interesting is that lard by itself in the natural state is a good source of B vitamins and minerals. And the majority of it is rich in oleic acid and monounsaturated fats. And that's important because monounsaturated fats are considered what you want to call the good fats because they can help lower your cholesterol levels.
She says people often think all fat is bad.
I think what's confusing for people is that they automatically assume fat is bad for you and to stay away from it, but it's all about in the context of what you're eating. So in comparing, say, a lard fat to another source of fat that's high in monounsaturated fatty acids would be, for example, avocado oil. And the nutrient profile of both those fats, for example, in 1 tablespoon, is very comparable.
But when it comes to any kind of fat, don't eat a lot of it.
When eaten in moderation, when you're replacing those healthy fats with your saturated fats or your trans fats, they really can help lower cholesterol and reduce your risk of heart disease.
I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
Hi, Grandma. Can Nina come over for dinner?
Sure. I've been meaning to ask you, what would happen if someone offered you a drink?
Grandma!
If anyone ever does, I want you to say, no, I have too much respect for my family and I don't want to get in trouble.
I promise, Grandma.
They really do hear you. For tips on what to say, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. That's underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. This message brought to you by SAMHSA and this station.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how, and we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids need to know the dangers and how to avoid them. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids, because when you talk, they hear you.
Let's face it, everyone loves to shop. From my experience of meeting a famous politician in the Hermès store in Paris,
to my unforgettable experience test driving my first 600 horsepower car, in which I said, I'll take it before it even hit 60 miles an hour.
we are pretty sure everyone has at least one unforgettable shopping experience. Hello, we are Carrie and
Ken,
founders of Income Store. Have you ever considered shopping for your next income? And we don't mean your next job. Did you know that you can walk into Income Store's website through a door on the left or a door on the right?
if you're just starting out or you simply have more time than money, you're going to enter our website on the left. If you've got more money than time, then definitely the right door is for you.
If you're looking to increase revenue in your home or business and would like to create a brand new, greatest shopping memory, all you have to do is change where you shop. Check out one of the two doors at incomestore.com.
That's incomestore.com.
Michael Devine at AM 1400
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
with 60 rounds of freedom.
Well, there you go with 60 rounds of freedom. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Once again, Bill Horan joins us, our old friend here. Bill has been a very successful farmer over the years. He's been involved in the biodiesel industry and certainly knows his way around the State House and really the halls of Congress in Washington, D.C. Bill, I remember one of the very first things. First of all, during the break, I was remembering when you were a regular contributor to this program, you're here every Wednesday, you would come in all neatly prepared. You had all kinds of things to talk about, and instead I'd rant for an hour. And you never really got to present any of the material that you'd prepared. And I was thinking, God, I'm doing it again. And the second thing I remember is one of the first times you were here, you made a point that journalists are not science students. They're writers. They like to read and all those things, but they're not inside baseball science guys. And you really need a science person to understand agriculture. You need somebody other than a journalist to understand international economics and the world food supply. You were too nice a guy to say, journalists are really morons. But as we've gone on, and I have read what's happening in our nation's newspapers and some of our opinion makers, I have to wonder, are our nation's journalists morons? I think they write very well, but some of the things.
Well, I wouldn't call them morons.
Okay. You're too nice a guy.
I think it is true that a lot of people end up in journalism school because they hated high school biology.
Oh, tell me about it. I hated high school biology.
Yeah. So how do you expect someone to write something good about GMOs or CRISPR or any of the new technologies when they hated that subject in school?
Well, they can't write with any real understanding. They depend. I can tell you this. They depend mainly on their interview subject. You know.
Yes. Well, there's a program at Iowa State University now that's started at the Seed Science College, and they talk about bringing in. They will give a journalism student a minor in journalism if they come in and work for one semester in the Seed Science department.
Really?
And those kids, there's about 10 of them a year that do that from the journalism school.
Yeah.
And those kids can write their ticket when they graduate because there's such a need for someone to write clearly about modern scientific farming.
Boy, there really is. You and I have talked about that in the past, that if someone can communicate either through his or her writing or on air or in front of a camera, you have somebody worth their weight in gold. I don't know how many brilliant people I've seen that I'll stick a microphone in their face and they just freeze up, or they can't express themselves well, or they talk as they do to fellow scientists. And if they're talking as they do to fellow scientists or specialists in the field, it's over the head of the average person. I mean, it's way over the head.
Well, as you know, in order to write clearly, you must be able to think clearly.
That's right.
And so not everyone can do that, and that's fine. But those that can need to help the rest of us.
Well, I certainly wish that program you're talking about at ISU would have been available when I was a young man. It wasn't. But I think that ISU has seen that need is a big step forward.
Yes. So to the caravans. We've got 2 new caravans forming in Honduras right now. And there's anywhere from 2,000 to 2,500 as of yesterday. And each one will be growing as they come north. But what's interesting is the Guatemalan, they're starting in Guatemala, and they are being vetted as they go into Honduras. Instead of being stopped, they're just check them. They found a few. They found a rapist, and they found a few criminals so far, but they're letting them on through, and then they'll go on into Mexico, and the Mexicans will probably let them on through.
Well,
here we go again.
Yeah, and we're the only one dumb enough, by the way, to accept people like that. We're the only one, and here's going to be a response. Everything you could just say, Bill, I would answer by this. Oh, you're just a racist. You're just an old racist. We need to have compassion, blah, 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 blah. It grosses me out. I mean, it really does. The blindness, the blind ideology, and the power obsession some of these folks have when they tell us that we need to let all these people in the country is ridiculous.
Well, a couple of weeks ago, Victoria and I went down to Grigsby, Arizona, and it's an old mining town. And when the mines played out, they pretty much turned it into a artist sort of community. Lots of artists live there. It's up in the mountains. It's very steep mountains. But on the way back, you have to go through. Grigsby is I don't know, it's maybe 10 miles from the Mexican border. On the way back, you get about 20 miles north, and you have to go through a stop by the Border Patrol, and they sort of check you out and try to figure out who you are and what you're doing. But after we passed inspection, there were about 4, maybe 5 Border Patrol agents there, and I said to them, we've got to build the wall. And, of course, they can't say anything. But
Right.
They looked at me, and they grinned from ear to ear and nodded yes. but they couldn't say anything, So it was interesting. And, around here, around Scottsdale, there's millions of Hispanics. And they're, as far as I can see, everybody's pretty well gainfully employed. and they have skills, and they're getting along just fine.
Sure.
And I don't see any reason why we can't continue to do that, as long as we have some sort of vetting process to figure out who is coming into this country, and have a handle on who's outside our door. And you know, that old saying is so true. You don't lock your door at night because you hate everybody outside. You lock your door at night because you love the people inside your house. And that's the way we should run this country.
The Democrats refuse to keep us safe. They refuse to let, frankly, the idea that they should keep us safe is somehow racist. I can't believe I'm saying these things, but it's the absolute truth. The issue of safety in the United States is apparently racist. And they want to impoverish a certain segment of our population, and to suggest that that may be wrong is racist. And on and on and on. I could go through. How do the actual Hispanic people there's in that part of the world in New Mexico, there are Hispanic people who have lived in New Mexico and Arizona for 100 years or 200 years or even longer. But they, of course, they're solidly American citizens. I was in the military with a New Mexico detachment years ago. And yeah, their bloodlines ran way back on U.S. soil. How do they feel about the wall? Have you had a chance to talk to anybody?
People will not talk about it.
Really?
Well, for this reason. If a Hispanic person is working for you, doing something, you have them in your house, or if they're even working retail, they don't want to make anybody upset. And so they're just neutral on everything.
Well, that's the power of the bullying tactics of the cultural left. That really is. When you have the media with the pressure that they've been putting on everybody not to tell the truth, or not to pay any attention to the fact that they want to destroy our history and remake our country in some weird image that they think is going to be a good idea because some sociologist gave them a piece to write that it would be a good idea. That's a dangerous combination, and that is so false that you and I started talking about Congressman King, and that's what, and I will have to say this about Congressman King: he has been in pursuit of the truth. I'm a little worn out with him. I want him to be our congressman again, but he has stood for the truth of the matter, as far as multiculturalism, diversity, and that sort of thing are concerned.
Well, he certainly makes comments that make people think about the issue. Hopefully, they think about the issue and not just condemnation. But here's the thing, Mike, that's bad. We have immigration policies in this country that encourages people to take their 6-year-old kids and start walking north.
Isn't that terrible?
And we put them in the worst possible conditions and danger. And they talk about 1 out of every 3 or 4 young girls are raped by the time they get to the U.S. border. It's our policies that are encouraging these folks to come up here.
Of course.
And we can't get Congress to be sensible about it. And, when I was growing up, if you wanted to come into this country, you signed up for immigration. You had to get a sponsor, and that sponsor had to be responsible for you for 12 months and had to help find you a job. And you had to come with a skill, and you could not be sick. And people that didn't have a skill or were sick were turned around and sent back to Europe.
Right.
Now, anybody can come, whether you have a skill, you don't even have to speak English. And you can come into this country and make yourself, avail yourself of our welfare programs and so on. And, we don't have a system. We don't have a system.
Well, we're being forced to be good people. We're not being forced to be reasonable people. The blind compassion is and I would say blind, almost foolish. It's it's almost as if these folks are impersonating good people. They're so ludicrous sometimes in their demands. But
if I had a son or a daughter or a cousin or anybody in my family was murdered by an illegal immigrant, I would be so furious with our government. I don't know what I'd do.
Oh, what our government is. What is going on is the Democrats are just are still enraged over the 2016 election. They believe it was stolen from them. The Russians did it. God, somebody did it. They couldn't have been wrong. What happened is that the voters rejected them and their underlying philosophy, and that never occurred to them. They're such wonderful people that voters would do that. So since they have done it, they're morons. Trump supporters, they're morons.
That's why they want to import people that are likely to vote Democrat.
Certainly.
If you can't convince U.S. citizens to vote for you, the next best thing is to import people, make sure people get in here that will lean toward your direction, regardless of your policies.
And those unskilled workers that voted for Trump, this is their punishment. This is. These Nancy Pelosi. Folks, look up where Nancy Pelosi lives. It's amazing that somebody in Nancy Pelosi's position in life is supposedly the voice of the ordinary person in our country.
Well, you can't get any pictures of her house because she lives behind a wall.
Yes, she does. Isn't that great? And it's guarded with people with guns too.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it all. Bill Horan's our guest, AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Have you heard anything about the trade talks, Bill?
No, it seems to be pretty secret. I think it sounds like there's ongoing discussions, and every time there's a little blip about them, the stock market goes up another tick. So I haven't heard any bad news, but I haven't heard a resolution yet. I'm curious about what role Governor Branstad, or now Ambassador Branstad, is playing in all this, because I bet he's in the middle of it.
Well, I bring that up every now and then. I bring that up to Sexton and Kreinbrink. And of course, they haven't heard anything, but I ask that question a lot. We really thought it was going to be a feather in our hat to have the former long-term governor of Iowa to be ambassador to China, one of our biggest trading partners, especially when it came to ag imports in China. Then this trade war happened, and really Governor Branstad has disappeared.
Well, you got to believe he's behind the scenes involved, though. He has to be.
Well, I'm sure that he is, but of course he's the ambassador, and President Trump is the leader of the free world. And I don't, and Trump looks like he can be a pretty difficult cat to handle once he's dug his heels in, like he has on this particular episode.
Well, you've heard about what happened today. He grounded Nancy Pelosi's airplane.
Oh, God, wasn't that great? That was terrific. Nancy Pelosi was scheduled to go visit the troops in the Middle East like they wanted to see her. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, the troops don't want to see a California liberal. They just don't.
And she was going to Brussels to ensure NATO that everything was fine.
Everything is fine.
But she's going to be gone 8 days.
Yeah.
In the middle of the government shutdown, she goes to Europe for 8 days.
Just arrogance, just colossal arrogance. And Trump tells her she shouldn't go because we're in a government shutdown and we can't spend the money. Oh, God, that was so good. Yeah, that was a great thing. Bill, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show, and I thank you as well. I don't know how the messenger got in touch with you, but obviously they did. I thank you for standing up at the Fort Dodge Messenger on this program today, and thank you so much for coming on at the very last minute. And it's always a great pleasure to talk to you, and I can't wait to see you when you get back. Say hello to Victoria for me.
I will, Michael. Thank you very much.
All right. Take care, Bill.
You bet. Bye.
AM 1400 KVFD.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Michael Devine, the doctor of truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
It's 3:58. Bad weather be coming.
Party with a Purpose, Saturday, March 2nd, during the 22nd Annual Sweetheart Gala. Imagine a world without heart disease or stroke. That's the driving mission of the American Heart Association. I'm Abigail Johnson, inviting you to join us at the Best Western Starlight Village. Social hour begins at 6. There'll be a silent and live auction, a DJ, and delicious dessert buffet and meal. Tickets are just $50 each. Come dance the night away at the 22nd Annual Sweetheart Gala, Saturday night, March 2nd, at the Best Western Starlight Village in Fort Dodge.
Have the talk of the lifetime with the ones you love.
Grandma, this card asks, when did you get a TV and what was your favorite show?
I think around 1950, they had a Fort Dodge TV station that
once
had
again-
a local barn dance show every Saturday night. Oh, honey, it was so much fun. They'd play instruments. We would sing and dance.
Sharing stories and memories with those who matter most isn't just important today. It will be especially significant when it's time to honor a life
bet.
lived.
Bye.
Contact Gunderson Funeral Home to learn more about having the talk of a lifetime.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Mayor Matt Bremerick is next. 25 degrees. By tomorrow at this time, we could have 7 inches of snow, so be careful out there.
Thank you very much.
All right, take care, Bill.
You bet. Bye.
AM 14.
Hi, this is Gary Rima, the voice of the University of Northern Iowa Panthers, and this is the home for Panther Sports, the voice of Fort Dodge, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Grounding the Speaker of the House, I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. President Trump today canceling a congressional trip to visit troops in Afghanistan and meet with allies at NATO headquarters. That flight, scheduled to leave earlier this afternoon, would have included Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi. Fox's John Decker at the White House.
A day after House Speaker Nancy Pelosi urged the president to postpone his State of the Union address, the president has denied a military aircraft for an overseas trip that Pelosi planned to take beginning today. In a letter to Pelosi, the president wrote, "Due to the shutdown, I'm sorry to inform you that your trip to Brussels, Egypt, and Afghanistan has been postponed."
The White House citing the government shutdown for postponing the planned trip. Speaker Pelosi's office issuing a statement saying the delegation planned to meet with NATO leaders and thank U.S. servicemen and women serving in Afghanistan. President Trump today offering condolences to the families of 4 Americans killed yesterday in a bombing in northern Syria.
We will never forget their noble and immortal sacrifice.
ISIS is claiming responsibility for this first major attack since the president ordered the immediate withdrawal of all American troops from Syria. Many more children may have been separated from their parents at the border than previously thought.
The Health and Human Services Inspector General says their Office of Refugee Resettlement started seeing a steep increase in children being separated from their parents starting in the summer of 2017. Former Attorney General Jeff Sessions didn't announce the zero tolerance policy until roughly 9 months later. HHS says per a court order, they have identified a little more than 2,700 kids who were referred to their care as of the time President Trump reversed family separations, but they now say many more kids may have been separated prior to that.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield. Another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
Facebook takes down hundreds of fake accounts it says are linked to Russia.
Facebook says it removed multiple pages, groups, and accounts that engaged in coordinated inauthentic behavior on the social network and on Instagram. One campaign included 364 pages and accounts tied to employees of Sputnik, a news agency based in Moscow, where page administrators coordinated with one another and used fake accounts to misrepresent themselves. Over 140 Russia-backed accounts, part of a second network, were said to be operating out of the Ukraine. Facebook reps explain, "We are constantly working to detect and stop this type of activity because we don't want our services to be used to manipulate people." Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
3 Chicago police officers acquitted today on charges they tried to cover up the shooting death of black teenager Laquan McDonald in 2014. Jason Van Dyke, the officer convicted of second-degree murder in McDonald's death last year, is set to be sentenced Friday. The fallout continues after British Prime Minister Theresa May survives a no-confidence vote in Parliament.
British lawmakers will vote on Theresa May's Brexit Plan B on January the 29th. The Prime Minister will deliver that plan next week, but it's unclear what changes could be made to the one heavily defeated earlier this week. The UK government has been talking to other party leaders and lawmakers to try and find some common ground. But opposition party leader Jeremy Corbyn is refusing to meet Mrs May until she takes the no-deal option off the table. In response, the Prime Minister says that's impossible. In London, Ashley Webster, Fox News.
The state of California is endorsing a rule that will allow home marijuana deliveries, even into cities that have banned commercial pot sales. It was opposed by police chiefs and other critics who say it will create an unruly gray market of hidden pot sales and would undercut local control. I'm Rich Dennison, and this is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The Sac County Sheriff's Office and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation continue to investigate a shooting that occurred around 12:30 a.m. yesterday. The incident occurred at 3104 330th Street in Lakeview, Iowa. The victim of the shooting has been identified as 55-year-old Richard Vosberg. Vosberg lives at this residence. Vosberg was transferred to Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City with non-life-threatening injuries. Vosberg was shot by an unknown male that came to his residence. After examining the crime scene and conducting interviews, law enforcement believed that Vosberg was targeted by the assailant and that there is not a general threat to the public. Law enforcement does, however, encourage the public to report all suspicious activity, no matter how insignificant callers may think it is. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the Sac County Sheriff's Office at 712-662-712. This week at the Fort Dodge City Council meeting, City Council rejected a development plan from KDG LLC in Columbia, Missouri that would have developed a high-end apartment complex near Rosedale Rapids on the east side of Fort Dodge. Despite the result on Monday, Councilmember Terry Menke said on the Divine Intervention show yesterday that providing adequate housing in Fort Dodge remains a top priority.
So we have been very aggressive with our housing. It's been a top priority of ours for as long as I can remember on our capital improvement plans. Housing's always been towards the top. The concerns the other night and my concerns with what was happening, I think the project that was presented to us, I'm not sure was in the right location.
Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said on the Divine Intervention show that the city has other options.
We have other apartment developers that we've been talking to, so we'll continue to work it. I mean, we're not going to propose this site, obviously. And it's not up to us, really. It's up to the applicant and the property owner to come to some deal and then make a proposal on a site.
A Cedar Rapids area man is now jailed on $3 million bond in the killing of a woman whose body was found along a Muscatine road last week. Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
35-year-old Douglas Foster of Marion is charged with first-degree murder and the death of 20-year-old Leah Ponce of Fairfield. Investigators say Ponce was last seen January 8th getting into Foster's pickup at a Walmart. Her body was located a short time later along Highway 38. An autopsy found Ponce died of blunt force trauma from being hit and dragged by a vehicle. The criminal complaint says Ponce stole a large amount of methamphetamine from a motel room, and the drug dealer offered a bounty to anyone who could find her. Prosecutors say Foster made 2 calls to that dealer just before authorities found the body. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast.
A winter storm warning will go into effect here Friday afternoon. We'll see mostly cloudy skies this afternoon with temperatures holding rather steady. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 16. Friday, a chance for snow showers here, 2 to 4 inches possible, a high around 21. And Friday night, chance for snow, 2 to 4 inches possible. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 25.
Tough as nails, nerves of steel. If you've come to test our metal, you better tighten up your chin strap. Get amped up for all the gridiron action on the Panther Sports Network.
University of Northern Iowa Sports are brought to you on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD by Mitch Lund State Farm, Party Productions, The Other Store, and New Age Media. Catch UNI Sports right here on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
It's Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
I don't understand what is preventing you from laughing this off and giving me a big hug.
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 with Mayor Matt Bemrick.
Boss, man, top dog, big cheese, the head honcho.
Call now, 515-955-1400.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the Voice of Fort Dodge. This is the part of the program you've all been waiting for. Mayor Matt Bemrick is in the studio. He is here to answer your questions. So if you have a question or comment, or the mayor, 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. I'm also on Facebook if you want to message me there, AM 1400 KVFD, on Twitter at JMike1400. And if you'd like to see audio and video of the program in real time, go to YouTube, type in 1400 KVFD, lowercase letters, and you'll see the mayor and I sitting here. How you doing, man?
I'm good.
All right. All right. So let's get this out of the way. Steve King's been in the news. He's our congressman.
Yeah.
You and I have talked with him many times. I personally like him. I think he's a good guy. I have said on the air the last couple of weeks, I don't need Steve King in the Toronto mayor's race anymore. I need him as my congressman. I don't need him overseas in Austria giving interviews to right-wing newspapers.
Right.
I don't, we just don't need those things. I want Congressman King to be an effective spokesman for our area. That's what I really want.
The 4th Congressional District deserves good representation.
They do.
Right now, I think that's not Mr. King.
It isn't right now. Cindy, actually, with no experience at all, she was elected in Iowa's congressional 3rd, is taking his place on the Ag Committee. That's not good for us. That's not good for us in the congressional 4th. You and I were talking off mic about, we don't know, but there's a variety of things that could be behind this. Certainly the liberals hate him. They just despise him. And a lot of the big liberal newspapers, and I would include the Des Moines Register in this, have campaigned against Steve King for a long, long time. I hope Steve King is getting a little bit of a message. I'd like to see him continue. He's about 70 years old now, I think.
He's
pretty close, 69, 70. I guess he's older than I am. And he's still a very vigorous environment. That is really old, I'll tell you. But he's still a vigorous and vibrant man, and he's a very deep thinker And I think he's a man of considerable talents that I wish he would put to work for Iowa's fourth. What I really don't want to see personally, just as a single voter in the congressional fourth, I don't need any more of this drama. I just, let's get to work and get something done. And that's what I would like to see happen.
Yeah. I mean, right now we need representation in Washington, and we need it to be working on things that are going to affect this district and in the communities within it. So right now, Steve King's focus is not currently on that. It's on defending what he said.
Right.
So,
and it's probable that the New York Times took what he said a little bit.
He's said other things in the past as well.
He did.
I don't know what I mean. What he said this time is definitely different than what he said in the past. It's even more extreme, but I don't know.
Whoever told him to talk to the New York Times should be fired.
Yeah, I kind of wondered that myself a little bit. I was like, that paper isn't going to really do you any favors, but I don't know. It's unfortunate. Our district's got a lot going on right now with ag, with development. Rural Iowa it seems to be a focus of a lot of what's being talked about in economic development and the growth opportunities that we have in the state as it relates to bio and ag development is going to occur in the rural parts of Iowa. So right now we need strong leadership. We need people that are going to be knocking on doors and opening up the opportunities to bring federal dollars back to Iowa and put them to work in these districts.
If you were listening at 2:00 today, you heard me talking with Sean Forch, Forch Brothers. Fauch, and Stephen Houck, who a Cardinal fan, hate that. Steve is going to be the on-site manager of the Phillips Luxury Apartments, is what they're calling them.
That's correct.
And they expect tenants by the first week of February.
Yeah.
Which is remarkable.
I've heard this. Yeah.
And by the way, 955-2955, if you'd like to know more information about that. And I believe they're offering tours. They have 72 units over there. That's remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's quite a I went on a tour when Debbie Durham from Iowa Department of Economic Development, myself, Kelly Halstead, Dennis Plautz, a few council members, a few other folks, a couple supervisors. We went on a tour one day after a meeting where we had met with Debbie about some things. She wanted to see the progress. And they were close at that time. That was probably right before Thanksgiving. They were getting pretty close. Lots of paint and carpeting and flooring and stuff going down. They still had some rooms that they were doing some major work in, but the majority of them were down to finishing touches. So, yeah, I'm excited to see it as a completed project. So
I am too.
Good stuff.
You probably went to Corpus Christi to junior high school, didn't you? Yeah.
Well, I went to kindergarten and first grade at Holy Rosary, because I used to live over across from the old Erie School, which is now the central offices. But
you lived over there?
Yeah.
When you were a kid?
Yep. And then we moved down across the street from Isaac Walton Pond in 1980. So I went to Corpus Christi and then Sacred Heart Junior High in St. Edmunds.
Yeah. But a lot of folks, of course, still remembered as North Junior High. Sometimes those things never go away, even though it's been Phillips Middle School, I think, since the late 80s.
Yeah.
That it was North and South junior highs. And
I think when I was in junior high, there was still Phillips and Fair Oaks.
Was there?
Yeah, it was North and South junior highs.
Well, when you were in junior high, probably in the 80s, weren't you?
Yeah, it would have been mid 80s. Like
what year did you graduate from high school?
92. So it would have been like 86, 87. I would have been at junior high.
Okay. All right. By the way, Mayor Bemrick and I...
It was shortly after that. I think they combined both of them into Phillips, and 7th and 8th grade went to Phillips, and I think 5th and 6th went to Fair Oaks. Something like that.
Right.
I remember right.
Mayor Bemrick and I, by the way, will be doing the sectional wrestling tournament. February 2nd. We'll be over.
But February 9th, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Oh, come on,
but
man.
I'm going to find you somebody to
find me a St. Edmunds guy, wrestling guy.
To help fill in.
Okay. All right. Don't get anybody boring. Okay. Somebody.
How could any wrestler be boring? I mean,
that is
wrestlers. You get them at a wrestling tournament, and every one of them will start telling stories about their time and who was good and who did this and who did that. So
the greatest,
you'll find I'll find somebody that.
The greatest wrestler of my generation, of course, was Dan Gable.
Yeah.
And he
I had
used
the Brands brothers when I was kind of in high school wrestling and stuff. They were at Iowa. So
yeah.
They were a few years older than me, but
tough dudes, boy.
Oh yeah, they were fun to watch, and Hawkeyes in general were just awesome then. And Gable, of course, was coach. So growing up in high school, that's who you idolized was Brands and Gable and those folks.
But Gable was atypical. I mean, he was so soft spoken and taciturn. So Dan, what's it like to win an Olympic gold medal? It's good.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, it was okay. I bet you really had to work hard. Yeah, I did. I worked. But years later, after he retired as head coach of the wrestling squad there at the University of Iowa, he was on Iowa Public Television. He was co-host for some of the ISU or Iowa State wrestling matches.
Mm-hmm.
And he was not a dramatic guy by any chance of the imagination, and he talked softly and deliberately. But if you listen to what he was saying, he had a real keen insight as to what was happening out on the mat at that particular moment. Yeah. And he would say, "No, this is what he should do in 2 or 3 moves." He didn't do it, so this is what's going to happen. Now he should do this, and the guy would do it, and it would work perfectly. He was great to listen to.
On February 2nd, all the listeners can tune in and listen to Mike talk and me try to get a word in every once in a while.
Oh, you can get a word in. I'll handle it. I'll handle the loud exclamations as well. That sucks, and you can do the
commentary.
You can do the actual commentary.
Did you wrestle yourself?
I did.
You did.
I wasn't very good. I wasn't a very good athlete, and that was one of the regrets of my life. But I wasn't strong, and I wasn't fast, and that's what happened.
Oh, yeah. Steve King's 69 years old.
69.
He was born May 28th, 1949.
All right. Well, there we go. He is going to be 70 this year. Then.
Yeah.
In May. I wasn't real fast and wasn't real strong. My favorite sport actually was baseball, and I
love the sport of baseball. I just was not good at it.
Weren't you? What position did you try to play?
I tried to play anything that they would let me on the field to play. This wasn't my game. Wasn't good at it. Now my nephew William Bemrick, over in Chicago, he's
Mitchell.
Mitchell's son. He is amazing at baseball. I mean, he pitches left and right-handed. Can bat
really?
He can bat left and right-handed.
Wow.
He's probably one of the best players in his entire league in that Chicago metro area. He's very good.
Where does your brother live?
Mundelein, Chicago.
Mundelein?
Yeah. Mundeline's a suburb kind of north and
up by
west.
Arlington or something, isn't it?
Yeah, it's north of there.
Yeah. I know a little bit about Chicago, but I don't know.
He's a big Cubs fan.
Good for him.
And I actually, for his birthday this year, I bought him a W flag, and I sent it to him, because they live over there. So I sent it to him, Amazon delivery, and he got it in the mail, and he's like, "Dad, who sent this to me?" and Mitchell's like, I don't know. And they couldn't believe that I would buy him a Chicago Cubs flag.
Sure,
so
why not?
they were like, "Was that you, Matt?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Yeah, but you don't like the Cubs." I'm like, "I know I don't like the Cubs, but William does, and he loves baseball, so I got him a W flag." So it's hanging prominently in his room.
All right. Yeah. All right. Excellent. I used to have one in here, but I took it off.
He's a great young kid. And
How old is
I'm
he?
going to try to, he would be 11.
12 years old?
12. He's 12.
So he's just in his adolescence.
Yeah. But he is a heck of a baseball player. I'm going to try to actually go over sometime this summer and visit and maybe see him play a game.
Yeah.
See him pitch. Because I guess he'll pitch part of a game right-handed and part of it left-handed, and depending on the batters and
that sort of ambidextrous skill is rare. It really is. It's very rare. Even a switch hitter is very, very rare. Most people tried to. Mickey Mantle, for example, learned it. It really wasn't natural to him. Yeah. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Good afternoon. You're on the air with the mayor.
I don't want to take too much of the mayor's time, but the pitchers and catchers report on February 12th and 13th.
I'm ready, man.
Yes, they do.
I'm ready.
I know I got a good friend who lives down in Arizona who's been trying to talk me into maybe making a trip down there to do a little spring ball watching. So we'll see if I can get down there.
That would rock, wouldn't it?
It would be fun.
I wonder if they still got those classic games down in that. What am I trying to say? Some of the old ball players.
They do like a throwback game where
Yeah.
they have players from that are
retired players,
come
but
back
were great players in
and
their
play
prime.
a game. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they do that still. They do kind of like celebrity things, and they'll have like movie stars and
you can
guys from NASCAR or
Right.
or Michael Jordan, I think's played in some of those.
Oh,
a few
has he
times
really?
over the years where he's gone and played baseball with some retired baseball players and played like a pickup game basically.
Well, they used to have
I think they still do it.
You're an old baseball guy like me, and I know one guy that did it down in Des Moines. His staff, he was a businessman, and his staff bought him a trip to Arizona where he actually got to play on the field with some
Oh,
of the
really?
greats. Yeah,
Hmm.
he was a Cub guy too, and then Ernie Banks was still alive. And,
Yeah.
and I don't know.
There's nothing better than a real ball field, peanuts and popcorn, a cold beer, hot dog.
the way to go, man.
Watch a great game.
Hey,
Yeah,
and
it's
we're
fun.
real lucky to have Harlan Rogers Park here. I'll tell you, that's a great little
cool baseball field.
cool baseball field.
Very cool.
And yeah, it's a
Now they
great-
got lights so they can have games at night and stuff.
That's
It's
right.
very cool.
That's right. This is AM 1400 KVFT, the voice for Dodge. I had Councilman Menke in here yesterday, and he was loaded for bear. Every time I say something, of course, he takes it deeply personally, and I think that he assures his fellow councilman that he's going to come over here and pound me on the head for something that I said. So when David Furick was here on Tuesday,
right,
I was, of course, David looks at me like, "What are you going to do now? What are you going to do or say?" And Furick turned out to be a great guest. He's very informative.
He's very knowledgeable.
It's a high point.
I mean,
of the
he
whole week.
knows a lot of times you'll ask me like detail related questions,
Yeah.
and I'll know the general portion of it, but I don't know like the minute details of things. David typically, that's what a city manager does. He's managing those fine details and coordinating with staff or consultants or whoever we're working with. So,
But he knows. Furick knows. I mean, he doesn't have
he
a
does know.
problem at all.
Well, I mean, he lives and breathes it all day, every day.
Anyway, we were talking about the KDG project
Mhm.
north of the Aquatic Center.
Right.
And I mentioned a couple of times in my way that I wish the council would have shown more leadership in this particular issue. Now, let me just explain what I
Sure.
mean by leadership.
Okay.
If we're going to have a $30 million project,
Right.
there's going to be resistance from some people in any neighborhood in town. That's just the way it's going to be. And Knollcrest was no exception. So by leadership, and I know this is Councilman Flattery's district mainly, and Dave is a leader, by the way,
Yeah.
he's a huge cheerleader for Fort Dodge. But I was wondering why the council didn't, if they really believed that this was a good thing to have. And I didn't see any flaws in it other than the location. Now you're about to tell me something else, I have a feeling. But but I do want to make the point that what I was talking about is that if the councilmen have a problem, why don't they make those concerns known publicly? Maybe it can be worked out. Why don't
Sure,
they engage with the people who
Well,
they know are going to complain way before the council meeting where it is decided
Yeah.
whether the project goes forward or not? Well, Menke took it personally. He was in here with his facts and figures, and
Right.
he tried to.
So I mean, a little bit with change, especially significant change. We don't have that type of apartment living. We've never had a complex of that size being proposed.
Did we
in a
need
lot
it,
of
do you think?
a lot of times, a community can react in the way that you kind of saw there, where it's often referred to in development as NIMBY, not my backyard.
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard. So you can do it, just don't do it right here.
Need housing, but not here.
And I get that to an extent. And we were kind of going down the line talking
Mhm.
about how people are going to vote. And it got to me, and I said, well, I don't have a vote, but I have an opinion about these things. And I said, I don't necessarily agree that this is the right location for this project either. And the crowd kind of started applauding. I said, whoa, don't applaud yet, because I
Don't
haven't
applaud.
finished my comment. And that is, I think there's a better plan to execute that type of development, and it just is going to take a different approach, different time frame. Maybe it has to be geographically located a little differently in that same proximity. There's ways to get there. In this, of course, the council doesn't guide the developer to do this. The developer goes out, finds land, says, okay, here's the land that I think I can purchase. And they petition the city to ask for it to be rezoned. And that's what they did. And then it came to the council, and the council reacted in the way that they did. Do I think just rezoning it the way it was proposed would have been the right thing to do? Probably not. I think a better comprehensive look at how that entire area around the aquatic center will develop over the course of the next 20, 30, 40, 50 even years is a better approach to it. If you think back to Williams Bend, we spent an awful lot of time trying to figure out the best way to lay that out.
Right.
And we worked with multiple developers who were making different proposals on how it could be done. And then we ultimately came to where we're at out there and building single family along the Williams Drive itself, and some condos tucked back in behind that, and then some apartments tucked in closer to the more commercial location and down towards Coach Light, where you already have condo apartment style living. So you can get there.
Coach Light.
Well, Coach Light.
Coach
Light Apartments.
God, I went
right there by Village Inn.
Yeah. Okay. I went to the Lamplighter in my mind.
Oh, yeah. No, different.
Wow. Am I
different
old?
light.
Wow. Am I old?
Coach Light, Lamplight, different.
Right. Yes, they are totally. Sorry.
So, I think to kind of react to the neighborhood and say, hey, all right, we get it. This isn't quite what you're thinking is the best for how this gets developed. Let's take a step back and look at, is there a different way to do this that is more palatable to the neighborhood and the long-term goals of developing that northwest area or northeast area of the aquatic center?
Is there going to be a consensus in that neighborhood about any sort of housing development?
Well, again, you still have the challenge of the kind of NIMBY mentality.
Well, that's the point. Exactly what I'm trying to get to, man.
I want it, but I don't want it right next to me.
I mentioned that to Minky yesterday. I
Yeah.
said the only place apparently that a complex like that could go would be in Pleasant Valley, and he immediately chirped up, "Oh, we would encourage that," or worse to that effect. Well, the developers probably don't want to be in Pleasant Valley.
Well,
there's not much of Pleasant
they
Valley
want
left.
access to schools, amenities like the aquatic center, the trail system.
Yeah.
And they want to be close
Shopping,
to
all
the
that
shopping,
stuff.
all that kind of stuff. So, we've got a change in, we got to understand that young people today are not going through the traditional lifestyle choices that maybe my generation, your generation did, where you go to school, you graduate, you get jobs, or you go on to college and then you get a job, and then you find, your significant other, and you get married and you have kids, and then you try to buy your first house and all those things. A lot of them aren't getting married until later.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them want the apartment style living or condos or living where they have no maintenance because they're active and they're doing other types of things. So they're the people that are using your trails. They're using your water trails. They're, taking trips to go rock climbing or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they just live a different type of lifestyle through their 20s and even into their 30s. So
Sure.
as we see that person that we're trying to recruit to take jobs and to help our local, industries thrive, we got to understand that we're going to have to build things that maybe aren't the traditional thing that we built before when we saw growth occurring in our area. So we'll get there.
All those things.
I mean, I never look at something like that as a complete loss. It's not. I mean, an action was taken. Didn't move that forward, but it still gives an opportunity to work with both that developer and other developers to say, okay, so we understand how the neighborhoods are going to react to this. So maybe we do a better job of educating the neighborhood.
Yeah, a little
as to
leadership.
what's
That's the
going.
point I was trying to make.
Yeah. And you learn from those things, and you can either cry about them or you can learn from them.
That's right.
I like to look at it as, hey, I learned something. So
And what did we learn? May remember.
we learned that the neighborhood is going to have a better idea of what we're trying to accomplish, with a developer, and maybe we're going to have to make some compromise.
Yeah.
In
there's
order
no
to
doubt.
make the neighborhood feel like they have a say in how things are getting developed around.
Yeah, I hope
Which the neighborhood did have a
I
say.
hope Minky's listening to this leadership thing here we got going. But anyway,
Well, you know, Minky's a good leader too. He made
Minky
his
is a good leader.
He made his comments about why he didn't think he could vote for it at this time, and that was I think the key phrase is at this time.
Let's go to the phones. AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Mayor Bimrick.
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello.
Hi.
So, I guess one of the fears that a lot of people in that neighborhood had was that if rent was going to be between $1,000 and $1,500 per month, which was kind of the number that was floated out there, and am I in the ballpark there?
Yeah, you are somewhere in that.
Okay, so that's magnitudes higher than a lot of the very good apartments that are currently in Fort Dodge, where you're already paying $600-800 a month. So the concern was that it wouldn't get populated enough, and it would eventually turn into HUD housing, and
which can't happen.
Would drag down the property values. And as a homeowner, and I'm not in that neighborhood, that's a real fear to see tens of thousands of dollars drop off the value of your home.
Yeah, but I mean, I believe that was somewhat painted as a scare tactic by whoever was spreading that gossip, because you can't just build an apartment complex and then, oh, well, you know, I got a occupancy rate that isn't making it cash flow, so I'm going to turn it into HUD. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
You have, in order to certify and create a HUD facility, you have to work with the local governments in HUD. And I've said this, I said it at the meeting that night. The only HUD application I have ever signed as mayor is the one that was to restore the Sears, the old downtown Sears building, which is a HUD facility, age and income restricted.
Okay.
So when I signed that piece of paper, I said, don't ever bring me another one of these, because I'm not signing them. Because at that time we were doing market research on how many HUD units do we actually need, and how many of them need to be age restricted, how many of them just need to be open to just income restrictions. And then we were working with the Fort Dodge Housing Agency to put together a comprehensive plan to say, how many units do we actually really need to serve our market area? You don't want to build too many, because then you're going to end up recruiting people. And that puts a strain on those other services that are trying to be provided, whether it's Webster County Public Health or others. So you want to right size your income restricted housing, whether it's age or just general income. So the idea that these guys could build this and they have a bad occupancy rate, and then all of a sudden they could just make it HUD, is just not real. It was something said by whoever said it, I believe, to create that fear that got into that neighborhood. And whose fault is that? I don't know. But I know that it gives us the opportunity now, through retrospect, to educate people better so that they understand that that can't just happen.
That's great to know, because I did ask around to find out, you know, how does it get turned into HUD? Because I had asked, you know, is there any kind of local leadership that has to sign on to that? And what I was told was no.
Yes.
And so I am glad to find out that is not the case, that there is local oversight of that.
There is local oversight. And actually, Mark Campbell, who's a Webster County supervisor, but also sits on the Fort Dodge Housing Agency board of directors, and myself have worked with HUD over the last number of years to try to make sure that we're right sizing things. And because you also have privately held vouchers that are government controlled, not locally controlled. They don't go through Fort Dodge Housing, and those tend to be a bit of an issue for us sometimes. That's where you hear of people that are abusing that HUD system. If you're inside the Fort Dodge Housing Agency's HUD voucher system, those are highly regulated. We do all kinds of background checks. You have to be a citizen of our community for the last year in order to qualify. You can't just move here and get one. So there's a bunch of different things that you have to do. Now, the privately held voucher that is coming right out of the office in Kansas City, that a private sector entity may hold, we don't have a lot of oversight to. So we've been trying to create a way for us on a local level to have more oversight to some of those privately held vouchers.
Okay.
And we think that should be done. There should be local oversight in the type of housing and how many units are available and how many of them are income restricted or how many of them are age and income restricted. We have a lot of older folks that live in age and income restricted properties that would have nowhere else to go but for those properties. So we got to make sure that as our population ages, especially with baby boomers coming in, do we need to expand those units? Well, that's why we've been doing market research and studying those kind of things. And at the same time, we're doing that with the HUD restricted income properties. We're also doing that for your market properties. So we're doing studies, gathering data both from the state, from local employers, all these things. And we're trying to determine what kind of housing do we need to build to recruit workforce, to recruit an engineer that's going to work at Cargill or out at Coke, or CNS Products is trying to hire, maintenance people. What kind of income value will they have, and what kind of units are they going to be looking for? Are they going to want to be owners? Are they going to want to be renters? What kind of things can we build? So as we gather that data, then we take it and we work with potential developers like KDG and others, and we say, okay, here's the data we know. They often then have to go prove or even elevate that data further before they can get traditional financing through banks to be able to prove that this thing's going to cash flow, or you can't build it, because a bank's not going to give them $30 million to build that complex unless they have a market study that says the occupancy rate is going to be 85 or 90%.
Okay.
So there's a lot of things in Mike was pointing out leadership, and I think that's kind of the key here is, in order for us to be successful, maybe not with that project, but with the next one in a different location or modified or whatever, we got to do a better job of educating and making sure people have the right information. And those misinformed folks that may be spreading that information, not with malice, but just because they don't have the right information to spread. So let's get the right stuff out there, get people to know what's going on. And I think through that effective education and good leadership, we'll see some of these things occur.
Yeah, that's great information. I do appreciate that. One other really quick question is,
sure.
Is that other hotel over by Holiday Inn going to get built anytime soon?
Well, they keep bidding it. I don't know. I think I've seen that project go to bid 3 different times now. So evidently they can't get the right price per square foot to make it cash flow or something. I don't know.
All right, because I know we need it. So I was just curious.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. I
Thank you
appreciate
for
it.
your call.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you are so improved, man. I tell you.
What do you mean?
Yeah, I mean, since you started doing this with me 9 years ago, you are just so improved. That question would have thrown you a few years ago.
Well,
Man, you've got it down now.
Thanks.
You got it all laid out, every aspect that's been covered. And I hope Menke heard that stuff.
Michael Devine at AM 1400
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
with 60 rounds of freedom.
Can I ask you something, but without you taking it the wrong way?
Sure.
Are you stupid?
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 with Mayor Matt Bemrick.
Boss, head man, top dog, big cheese, a head honcho.
Call now. 515-955-1400.
Okay, yeah, it's 4:40. We're going to do a little bit of information. We'll get right back to you with the mayor. AM 1400 KVFD.
Are you paying too much for term life insurance? There's a tremendous price war among the major term life companies. Rates have dropped dramatically in the past few years. For example, a man age 45 non-tobacco user, $1 million of coverage, $75 per month level rate for the next 10 years. Or a man age 50 non-tobacco can obtain $500,000 of coverage for a monthly premium of only $110 per month, guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. That's right, level rate guaranteed not to change for the next 20 years. If you're a smoker, we have great rates available for you as well. At Termbusters, we specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. If you're looking for new or replacement term life insurance, call today for a quote at 1-800-569-5440. That's 1-800-569-5440. You're probably paying more than you should. Call Termbusters, 1-800-569-5440, or visit our website at termbusters.net. Remember, 1-800-569-5440. Rates and availability may vary by state. Sample rate quotes based on preferred non-tobacco underwriting. Exam required to qualify.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A winter storm warning will go into effect here Friday afternoon. We'll see mostly cloudy skies this afternoon with temperatures holding rather steady. Northwest winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, mostly cloudy, a low near 16. Friday, a chance for snow showers here, 2 to 4 inches possible, a high around 21. And Friday night, chance for snow, 2 to 4 inches possible. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 25.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. March corn up 6 cents at $3.80. May up 5 3/4 at $3.88. July corn up 5 1/2 at $3.95 1/2, and September up 4 3/4 at $3.98 1/2. March soybeans up 13 1/4 at $9.07 3/4. May up 13 cents at $9.21. July up 13 1/4 at $9.34. August up 13 cents at $9.39. March wheat closed up 5 1/4 at $5.17 3/4. Soybean meal up $2.10 a ton at $3.12.20. February live cattle down 72 cents at $127.10. April down 82 at $126.90. January feeder cattle down $2.35 at $141.42. March down $177 at $142.92. February lean hogs up 80 cents at $60.85. April down 45 at $64.62. I'm Dwayne Murley.
From the Fox Business Network, stocks closing higher for a third straight session on hopes that the U.S. will lift tariffs on Chinese imports, with the Dow closing up 163 points, NASDAQ up 50, S&P 500 up 20. And after the closing bell, Netflix releasing a mixed earnings report, missing on revenue estimates but topping on earnings expectations. Netflix reported 8.8 million new paid subscriptions, which were up 34% compared with a year earlier, with the company drawing in more customers from overseas. And Target is making a big investment in babies. Without Babies R Us, the retailer sees an opportunity to double down on its own baby business and is expanding its in-house brand Cloud Island to include essential baby items like diapers, wipes, and toiletries. The retailer is adding 30 products to the line priced under $10. The expanded Cloud Island collection will be available online and in-store starting on Sunday. With the Fox Business Report, I'm Hillary Barsky.
And now, the worst commercial ever.
Hi, I am Justin Galvin, retired athlete from your local ball team, so I know a thing or two about insuring a landscaping business. I trust the pros, commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive. Get customized insurance solutions that'll hit a grand slam home run for you. We done?
A totally mailed-in celebrity endorsement. Awful. Whereas commercial auto and business insurance through Progressive is anything but. Visit progressivecommercial.com to quote today. Insurance provided and serviced by Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Its affiliated and third-party insurers.
Good Samaritan Society Manson is looking for a registered nurse to be a part of their leadership team and serve as MDS and rehab coordinator. RNs applying for this 30-hour-a-week position must be in good standing with the state of Iowa. If you want to enjoy the benefits of working in a Bronze Award 5-star Christian care facility, apply online for the MDS position at good-sam.com. That's good-sam.com. Good Samaritan Society is an equal opportunity employer. Women, minorities, and veterans are encouraged to apply.
First State Bank, first for you.
First State Bank and its ag lenders are first for you. They have the desire to work with you and the authority to make their decisions locally. They strive to be your #1 financial institution leader. Stop in or give Jennifer Hansen, Rob Dickey, or Josh Kibbe in Humboldt a call to see how they can help you grow. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
First State Bank, first for you.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
If you're into cars or just want to learn a thing or two, tune in every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 for the Under the Hood Car Show on AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for that. Sorry about the dead air thing there. I was out in the hallway talking to some guys and forgot I was on the air, I guess. Mayor Matt Bermick is here. Let's go right to the phones. Good afternoon. You're on the air with the mayor.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, Doug.
Hey, I was just wondering if the mayor has if he's had any inquiries about that land south of the middle school into 2nd Avenue North as prospects for housing or.
South of the middle school, that land's owned by a rather large, it's a family that owns land all over the place. Their last name's Litchfield.
Yeah.
And I know that the guys from KDG that proposed that apartment complex there north of the aquatic center have tried to reach out to Litchfields, and I think the price was somewhere north of $1 million more than what they could acquire the land off of 32nd Street by Knollcrest there.
Yeah.
From what I've been told.
Yeah, it's a big field. I know that.
It is. Yeah, it'd be a great place to build out some mixed housing there. You could do some apartments, you could do some condos and townhomes, and even some single family if you wanted to. And there's always potential that someday that might happen, and we'll just have to wait and see. As you know, new homes come online and new townhomes, condos, apartments, that's going to change your market. And hopefully it's adding value to the market, and real estate values will be going up. So a house that you might have bought the decade earlier might be, you're getting some better value as you add people, and housing is either a surplus or a shortage. And right now we believe it to be a shortage. That's going to elevate those prices, especially for a quality piece of property.
Well, why I was thinking of that land is because there's already to the east, there's already, apartment complexes and stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And it wouldn't be bothering people with single family properties,
Right. And that's the point I was trying to make in the previous kind of round there is maybe apartments don't belong right there on 32nd Street. Maybe they need to be set back in there or located in proximity, but not right there along 32nd Street. Maybe you need some buffering. If you look at how we laid out Williams Bend, there's basically single family house surrounding the single family area that's to the north of it, and is along Williams Drive, and then behind that you have townhomes and condos, and then inside of that then you have apartments. So you created buffering and space between, which is a good way to comprehensively lay out a development. Maybe that's what needs to occur along 32nd Street. We need single family homes or condos or different things like that, and then a road stubbing in, and then you have some different uses, different densities, and then you get to the higher density towards the back of the development. I don't know. That's what developers need to look at, and they need to take that into account, because we learned that the neighborhood around there thinks that's not the right place. So
yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, thank you. AM 1400 KVFT, the voice for Dodge. Yeah, question or comment from the mayor, 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. Yeah, there's at least there's some interest in housing in our city, it sounds like. And I'm glad of that.
Yeah, and I mean, there's more opportunity for people that want to build infill housing. I mean, we've got empty lots. You can buy fairly inexpensively and build homes on them, or build different things. We've still got some other apartment complexes that have been proposed that haven't gone vertical yet, and hopefully we'll see some of that stuff take place here in the building season in 2019. So,
do you think that we need something like KDG proposed or not?
I do. I believe that, like we were talking about millennials and just a different lifestyle than maybe the lifestyle we chose in our 20s or early 30s. I think that's the kind of thing they're looking for. And I think the way you can tell that is you go into the larger metro areas surrounding, Des Moines, Ames, Cedar Rapids, And you're seeing a lot of that. Now, we're not going to see it to the magnitude that they have. I mean, they've got thousands and thousands of units.
Yes, they do.
But we could definitely see it in the couple of hundred units, or in maybe even up to 600-700 rentable units that are more that type of living. And you have, I heard people saying stuff about A class and different class, and really I don't know how to rate that. I'm not a real estate guy. I'm not a developer, but I know it's the point of rent. So I mean, we have an existing inventory of stuff that's from 600 up to 900 or whatnot, and then you have some townhomes and stuff that are north of 1,000. We don't have apartments that are in that price point, and there's people out there that are looking for them. So,
well, yeah. I haven't seen a marketing survey on what young professional people, and that brings up another question: Are we building for younger professional people? Are we building for average workers?
I think you need to fill all those.
All right.
So you are going to have to build for the younger single folks. You're going to have to build for young growing families, and you try to make those price points. The difficulty in that is often. And this is a statewide problem, and I heard about it a lot this week. I spent a couple days in the wind, and everybody's talking about rural housing, how to build it, how to get to certain price points, and how the economy of a community, basically what people are making for the work that they do, what kind of housing can we make available to them and make it to where a developer can afford to build it, get the right kind of rents, or get the right kind of price point if he's going to sell it, and put those people in that. Nobody's come up with the perfect solution to that yet.
Sure.
Everybody's dabbling in it and trying to figure that out. I mean, if you're in a major metro area, you can just build this stuff because there's the demand there, because there's people going there. In our area, we have people coming, but they're not coming in the mass droves, and you don't already have a proven market. So you got to prove it somehow. You got to show, hey, we've created these jobs. That means there's people. We've raised income levels, so we know that this is what people can afford. Now, how do we fulfill what they're asking? You just got to keep working through the process of it.
Do you think KDG will come back with another
I hope so.
Proposal?
I hope so. I mean, I get if I guess if you want to say if I was a betting man, I'd say yes. I think they'll come back with some other location or some different idea of how to do it.
We would.
I hope they do.
We would be, of course, right back where we. And I talked with Menke about this yesterday, and we had a couple of callers. What part of town isn't there going to be some kind of controversy surrounding a development like that?
Yeah, I mean, we had controversy out in the Williams Bend area.
Yes, absolutely.
And now, as you drive by there, and you're seeing these houses, and you're seeing people buying them, some of the people that said, "Well, God, I thought they were going to build a bunch of junk out there," and they've driven by there now, and they're like, "Oh, wow, those are really nice homes."
Yeah, well, we had it on those places on South 7th Street with that Waterloo developer as well. I mean,
yeah, he moved that over to the old, just over by the old junior high there on 8th.
Yeah,
so,
but he only built half as many as he proposed.
He hasn't even built them all.
He hasn't built any or all.
None.
None.
Yeah.
Does he plan to? Do you know?
I believe so. He was at Waterloo, I believe.
Yeah, he was.
Mm-hmm. No, I think he plans to. He hasn't gotten, maybe he hasn't secured all the financing or investors or whatever. So,
well, I don't know if this, I brought this up with Menke yesterday, and what's unsaid is that some folks are afraid that we'll have south of the border people moving into the neighborhood.
Oh, you're gonna have that. There's no stopping that. I mean, the fastest growing sector of our population is people that are Hispanic,
and that's been that way for a long time.
I mean, that's not a bad thing. I mean, there's a lot of great Hispanic families.
Didn't
hardworking, great people. I see them on construction sites all the time. I see them working in all kinds of different locations around our community, around the state. I get around quite a bit, so I see a lot of different facilities, a lot of different manufacturing folks out there, and I see a lot of Hispanic workers working in all kinds of different sectors of our economy, and I mean, they deserve the same chance as anybody else.
But that is one of the driving factors of neighborhood protests.
I would, if you want to, if somebody came to the podium and said, I don't want
They're
this
never
here
going to
because
do
I
that.
don't want Hispanic
Hi there,
people.
I'm a redneck, and
Yeah,
I don't want any Mexicans.
You're not
in my
gonna
backyard.
you're not gonna like my response.
Well, Matt, that's not going to happen. But you know what I'm saying is the truth.
Well, even if I get a tone of that's what the issue is, you won't see me back down from that.
No.
That's just not right. I mean, if you can afford to live somewhere, you should be able to live there. Period.
You're on record as being very tolerant. I'm glad to hear that.
I've always believed myself to be a pretty tolerant and
I do
compassionate
too.
person
It's
to anybody.
really-
If you want to work hard, you want to live in our community, you want to follow the rules, raise your family. I want you here.
Duly noted.
I don't care where you were born or what country you hail from.
Very liberal,
you
Matt.
come to Iowa, you're part of the American dream. Let's try to make it a reality.
I agree more or less. But you know what I'm saying is,
I know,
I think it's
I
time
really,
for that to be confronted.
really hope that is not what was the driving factor there.
I'm not saying
I
it.
didn't hear that
No,
from the folks I
they're
talked
not
to
gonna say that.
personally. And if someone said that to me, I would not be very nice in my remarks back to them.
That's right. No, but when you hear issues like when
Again,
you hear people say
it
things,
goes back to that NIMBY thing. It's that not in my
That's right.
backyard. It's fear of change. It's fear of cultural changes and changes that happen
right.
within an economy and a community like ours that is still, whether we like it or not, we are still small. We're in rural Iowa.
That's right.
We're trying to, improve everything that we possibly can, whether it be incomes or quality of life or job creation or housing, you name it. And we have to raise all ships here, not just people that have lived here for their entire life. We have to create opportunity for new people to
you say
embrace
all
Fort
that tolerant
Dodge.
stuff, but here you are in the front page of the paper with a known Steve King.
Hey, I've worked, I don't elect the
I didn't really expect you to-
congressional
I didn't expect
leaders. The people do, and I work with who they elect.
That's right. And King's
That's part of my job.
I'm just suggesting that we confront that head on. That there may be concerns out there because people of a different background are going to be in the neighborhood.
I'm sure there are people that may have that as an undertone to
Yes,
why
they
they
do.
fear the change. I just hope that they realize and they would look at the facts in front of them that, you're talking about housing here. And you're going to have all kinds of different people that live in all kinds of different houses.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
You bet.
5:00 in the afternoon. You're listening to KVFD in Fort Dodge, Iowa. I thank you very much. Fox News is next.
But so are the talks. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. Lawmakers reacting after President Trump canceled a congressional delegation's overseas visit to American troops. Fox's Jared Halpern live on Capitol Hill.
A day after Speaker Nancy Pelosi suggested postponing the State of the Union address, President Trump sent a letter to the Speaker canceling the use of military aircraft for an unannounced congressional trip to Afghanistan led by Pelosi. Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam Schiff was part of that delegation.
I think the president's decision to disclose a trip that a speaker is making to a war zone was completely and utterly irresponsible.
President Trump says it would be better for Pelosi to be
Yes,
involved
it is.
in negotiating border security. Pelosi's office says the purpose of the trip was to express appreciation and thanks to men and women in uniform and obtain critical national security.
That's part of my
briefings.
job.
Lisa.
Jared, President
I'm
Trump
just
expressing
suggesting that-
condolences to the families of the Americans killed yesterday in a suicide bomb attack in Syria.
We will never forget their noble and immortal sacrifice.
The president making the comment at the Pentagon. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack. 3 Chicago police officers cleared of covering up the fatal shooting of a black teenager, Laquan McDonald.
Judge Dominica Stevenson went point by point in detail, shredding the prosecution's case. That officer Thomas Gaffney, former officer Joseph Walsh, and former detective David March tried to cover up the 2014 on-duty shooting of armed burglary suspect Laquan McDonald.
Therefore, there is a finding of not guilty as to every count and each defendant.
The prosecution's case centered on discrepancies between dashcam video and what the officers wrote in the reports, similar to the second-degree murder conviction of former police officer Jason Van Dyke, who
Fox's Jeff Bonasso. This is Fox News.
I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's premier home purchase lender. Today's fluctuating interest rates can leave you with unexpected higher mortgage payments. At Quicken Loans, we've created a new way to protect you from unpredictable interest rates so you can buy a home with certainty. It's called Rate Shield, and here's how it works. With Rate Shield, you can lock your interest rate while you shop for a new home. So if rates go up, you don't have to worry. And here's the best part. If rates go down, you get the lower rate. With Rate Shield, we really have you covered. Here are more reasons why you'll want to work with America's largest mortgage lender. For 9 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. And for the 5th year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in the nation for mortgage servicing. Rate Shield. Another way we can save you money on your mortgage. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Based on Rocket Mortgage data in comparison to public data records. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender license in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030. Additional conditions or exclusions may apply.
For the Los Angeles teachers strike, but
your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The Sac County Sheriff's Office and the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation continue to investigate a shooting that occurred around 12:30 a.m. yesterday. The incident occurred at 3104 330th Street in Lakeview, Iowa. The victim of the shooting has been identified as 55-year-old Richard Vosberg. Vosberg lives at this residence. Vosberg was transferred to Mercy Medical Center in Sioux City with non-life-threatening injuries. Vosberg was shot by an unknown male that came to his residence. After examining the crime scene and conducting interviews, law enforcement believed that Vosberg was targeted by the assailant and that there is not a general threat to the public. Law enforcement does, however, encourage the public to report all suspicious activity, no matter how insignificant callers may think it is. Anyone with information about the incident is asked to contact the Sac County Sheriff's Office at 712-662-712. This week at the Fort Dodge City Council meeting, City Council rejected a development plan from KDG LLC in Columbia, Missouri that would have developed a high-end apartment complex near Rosedale Rapids on the east side of Fort Dodge. Despite the result on Monday, Councilmember Terry Menke said on the Divine Intervention show yesterday that providing adequate housing in Fort Dodge remains a top priority.
So we have been very aggressive with our housing. It's been a top priority of ours for as long as I can remember on our capital improvement plans. Housing's always been towards the top. The concerns the other night and my concerns with what was happening, I think the project that was presented to us, I'm not sure was in the right location.
Fort Dodge City Manager David Fierk said on the Divine Intervention show that the city has other options.
We have other apartment developers that we've been talking to, so we'll continue to work it. I mean, we're not going to propose this site, obviously. And it's not up to us, really. It's up to the applicant and the property owner to come to some deal and then make a proposal on a site.
A Cedar Rapids area man is now jailed on $3 million bond in the killing of a woman whose body was found along a Muscatine road last week. Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
35-year-old Douglas Foster of Marion is charged with first-degree murder and the death of 20-year-old Leah Ponce of Fairfield. Investigators say Ponce was last seen January 8th getting into Foster's pickup at a Walmart. Her body was located a short time later along Highway 38. An autopsy found Ponce died of blunt force trauma from being hit and dragged by a vehicle. The criminal complaint says Ponce stole a large amount of methamphetamine from a motel room, and the drug dealer offered a bounty to anyone who could find her. Prosecutors say Foster made 2 calls to that dealer just before authorities found the body. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
This has been Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. A winter storm warning begins at noon tomorrow and continues until 6 a.m. Saturday morning. Mainly cloudy skies tonight with the low of
Live from the headquarters of Ramsey Solutions, it's the Dave Ramsey Show, where debt is dumb, cash is king, and the paid-off home mortgage has taken the place of the BMW as the status symbol of choice. I'm Dave Ramsey, your host. You jump in, we'll talk about your life, your money. It is a free call. Josh starts off this hour in Hartford, Connecticut. Hey, Josh, welcome to the Dave Ramsey Show.
Thanks, Dave. How are you?
Better than I deserve. What's up?
So
my wife and I have started financial peace. This is actually our second time because the first time my wife convinced me that I was, she told me I was doing Dave Ramsey-ish. So we kind of stopped. We're doing it again. My question for you is, we've completed baby step 1. We're on to baby step 2.
Good.
We have about $5,000 in our savings account, which I am so afraid to just take it and pay off some debt, just because I'm worried that one day my furnace is going to blow up. Something catastrophic is going to happen in life, because I've always had that financial nest egg there. So I'm afraid to lose it by just putting it towards debt.
Okay. What's your household income?
It's about $86,000 net.
And how much debt do you have?
$130,000.
Counting your house?
Not counting the house.
What's the 130 on?
So it's 2 cars, both of which are $6,000 and $7,000. I have a student loan for $10,000 after the military from Room and Board, and then my wife has 110 or 100 is her student loans.
Okay. And so you're 3 years to get out of debt.
Yep.
Okay. You can do what you want. We suggest holding $1,000, and if something like a furnace comes up, you'd have to just put your get out of debt plan on hold and buy the furnace, and then rebuild your get out of debt plan. But $5,000 really is not even close to an adequate emergency fund. $1,000 obviously isn't. We didn't intend for it to be. But no, I understand the hesitation, but the hesitation, that little bit of fear that comes up inside of your throat when you're doing that, is one of the things that will move you forward on aggressively cutting lifestyle, aggressively increasing income, aggressively selling off anything we can find to sell off to get this debt cleared as fast as we possibly can, so that we can build that emergency fund up to what it should be, 3 to 6 months of expenses. So $25,000 and no payments, no debt at all. And if you're sitting there 2 to 3 years from now, $25,000 in an account, 0 debt of any kind except your house, that's going to be a very nice way to feel. It's going to change everything. Adam is with us. Adam's in St. Louis. Hi, Adam. How are you?
I'm great, Dave. How are you doing?
Better than I deserve. How can we help?
My wife and I are on your program. We're gazelle intense and ready to go. Got a little speed bump, though. We filed a Chapter 13 bankruptcy 2 years ago on a business that didn't work out for me. It was a contractor business, and for 2 years now, and we had a bankruptcy back, and my lawyer's telling me we could probably have it in May.
You're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out. I'm not hearing but about a half of what you're saying. You said the lawyer's telling you can convert. Well, and now you're just gone. Okay. All right. Alexis is with us in New Orleans. Hi, Alexis. How are you?
Hey, Dave. I'm doing great. How are you?
Better than I deserve. How can we help?
Awesome. So my husband and I just got married last month, and we have no debt except for a 5-plex that we just purchased.
Good.
We paid most of it in cash, and so the only debt that we have is for the construction loan to renovate the 100-year-old 5-plex, and that is for about $132,000. So we are next week moving into one of those units. 3 of the units are occupied and bringing in rental income, and the 5th unit we are going to Airbnb. So my question for you is, how do we keep doing this, building our real estate portfolio in a wise manner, trying to be mindful of not wanting to, go into debt minus the real estate? Like, how do we measure when is the best time to buy our next property until we can pay